Cool. So let's start with Wemby. I think that's the fun one. I like this real fast. Want to shout out to a couple folks here. M. Hunter Stevie says, it's always crazy to me when a younger player displays a lack of knowledge of the rules that they aren't aware that flagrant 2 fouls carry auto ejections. Explains not knowing other rules too, I guess. It's true. That is, I'm always shocked when professional athletes in a sport are completely surprised or not understanding of basic rules. Happens a lot in baseball as well, which I find funny. But you would think that flagrant 2s would be a known thing.
Well, yeah, so I have some varying opinions on him being ejected. One is, why the fuck was he swinging his elbow like that? Like, that felt intentional. However, LeBron has been guilty of the exact same thing and did not get a flagrant 2 or a foul or an ejection.
Yeah, all the time. All the time. I think this one was more visible, right? Like it's not like in the post, it's not during the play. There's like some space. It's very camera friendly, this one.
It was, and I mean, and it absolutely looked deliberate and intentional. Like, who moves with their, elbow up at, a 90-degree level and then swings around? That's not a natural movement. That's an intentional movement. That's deliberate. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, should people be allowed to elbow people? No. However, there needs to be some level of consistency across the officiating, which there is not.
Yeah, I get kind of mixed about it. I mean, I think that's a blatantly intentional. I mean, I would rule it as intentional, but blatantly intentional. It's a hard hit, unnecessary, and yeah, the old eras and stuff were a lot tougher back then. There was a lot more elbowing, a lot more stuff, but most of it was not that, visible and intentional like that, I think. It's also, I think it's also a much bigger contrast when the game is way less physical all of the time, and then you see something like that. So yeah, I think it was a pretty steep exit. Like, I agree with all of the takes that Wemby was getting hacked and pulled and, grabbed and shoved and, all those little sort of harassing little things. But there wasn't a whole bunch of like harassing little things back. It just kind of suddenly exploded.
Yeah.
In terms of retaliation. So I don't think you can do that. I think if they're getting physical with you, then you get physical back. And that keeps going until the refs start calling things. And then as the refs start calling things, that should prevent the escalation on both sides, as opposed to poke and poke and poke and poke and poke, and then suddenly giant elbow to the throat. Like, no, we can't have that. That's, even back then, that wouldn't have. When players exploded back then like that, where it seemed like a disproportionate immediate response, right? Whatever anybody thinks about sort of needling someone after a while, is it okay for them to sort of hit back? Everybody can argue that, however much they want, but if they're not both needling each other in rising escalation that the refs can do something about, or are clearly signaling that they're just letting it be that physical, you can't just go from needles to elbows in the throat. Like, you're gonna get ejected. Especially today, you're absolutely going to get ejected. That's not a flagrant 1 or just a common foul, which I would argue a lot of the old days elbows were common fouls.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me how that would happen.
No, I agree. And yeah, you can feel one way or another about, escalating. I do think that there's a point where you've been abused enough and you're going to retaliate. Is it okay? No, but like, at least I understand it. He wasn't being pushed that far. And what do they call it? A non-basketball move? That was a non-basketball move. he was trying to at least elbow the guy in the head. He may not have intended to elbow him in the throat, but he absolutely intended to elbow that person in their head or chest or face or what have you. I don't know. I mean, he certainly deserved to be kicked out of the game. Maybe in 1988, if he was on the Pistons, that would have been fine, but that's not the game that we're in today.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, it's a discretionary call at the end of the day. It's they get to decide that. I think in former eras, I think that would have been I think the discretion would have been like the judgment call on that. I think probably would have just been a foul. I don't think it would have been a tech. You know, if this happened in 2002 or 93 or, you know, anything like that. But I also think you don't get away with that scot-free either. I think that turns into something for the rest of for the rest of the game, for the rest of the series. You know, I just think Shaq and Rodman just elbowing each other and pressing up on each other and humping each other all game long. And, cheap elbows to the kidneys and all that kind of thing for, 35 minutes, 40 minutes worth of the game a night.
Yeah.
So, it says something, I think, that that it's judged to be, auto ejection. So I don't know. So I think that's where all the takes seem to be on where the refs land on what to do about that. So then all the arguments seem to all be in favor of which judgment call to make, not whether or not it was intentional or not, or whether or not it was justified.
Yeah. Well, and another take that I have on it is, at least when the bad boy Pistons did it, they owned it. It was their reputation. It was something that they leaned into. Regardless of how you felt about it, they weren't acting like they were victims. I was going to say LeBron will egregiously offensive foul people and then act like the victim. I was going to say, I've heard some of the things that Wemby has said, and even I feel like he is sometimes portraying himself as the victim. You don't get to elbow people in the face and be the victim at the same time.
Yeah, if anything, it was actually the opposite way. If anything, that's, I think, what kind of makes it more interesting is, Shaq would elbow, Rodman in the kidneys. But then, if it was called, if anything was called, or if anything happened, he would also like stand there, kind of post up in Rodman's face or stare at him from, from 10 feet away. And neither guy would kind of back down. They'd be like, okay, that's how it is. Okay, that's how it is. And then, you just see them going back and forth, trying to get away with stuff all game.
Yeah.
Nobody was really, waving their arms around or crying to the refs a lot. That wasn't a common thing. And I feel like, players would make fun of you if you did that.
I agree.
I like this Wootage reminding us. I remember when Shaq attacked Brad Miller in a game and cussed up a storm in the post-game interview. That's right. I think he did actually get fined for the post-game interview there. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I do. I think he did.
Like they would double down on it afterwards and just like, yeah, that's right. It's tough and we're going to be tough. I'm not going to get pushed around by this guy. I'm not, you know what I mean? But also that kind of stuff, like I said earlier, it didn't just silently brew for 3 games and then suddenly an explosion of contact like that.
Yeah.
So I also think that's kind of in the refs' minds that, all of a sudden elbow to the face. All right, we can't have that, as opposed to guys shoving each other the entire time. But you're right. When a lot of these players, when they're doing that stuff, you mentioned LeBron James, like absolutely, they'll do stuff like that or whatever, and then immediately get up and start crying to the refs, throwing their hands up in the air about why they're not getting the foul. Like why? So at least there's that, I guess. I don't know if there's any silver lining to be had with that.
I don't necessarily know either. Like I am a huge fan of physical defense. I don't even necessarily mind, the occasional elbow, like maybe not to the face, but I'm gonna elbow you in the ribs. I'm gonna let you know that I'm here. I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna be in your face the entire game, and this is how we're playing. I don't have a problem with that. What I don't like is I mean, I haven't watched a lot of that series, but it didn't feel to me like it's been incredibly physical defense. And then this just happened to be a happenstance. It felt like it's been pretty mediocre, soft defense. And then all of a sudden this happened because he didn't like it. Either play physical defense or don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, people, at least, longtime fans, I think, are so desperate for physical defense to be allowed in the league that even a sharp elbow to the throat, we're like, well, you know what? At least he hit somebody. I really think that's where the temperature is. I think it's just, I was looking at it, which is, this might make for actually a good segue on it. But it's interesting to note that, so they obviously reduced all the physical stuff, right? They added flagrant 1, flagrant 2. They added all these, sort of new ways to judge these calls, to judge physicality. They try to reduce physicality as much as possible. You put a 3-second rule in, you get rid of hand checking, etc., to try to lower the stoppages and lower the fouls. And yet there's like 1 or 2 less fouls per game now than there were like in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So you're still making the same amount of calls. You're still whistling the same amount. You're still blowing the whistle the same amount. We still have to stop the game as much and for longer. The game time, the broadcast time is actually up by a few minutes. So it's like we've traded the physicality for nothing at all. Nothing has happened as a result of that.
No.
We're still going to get the same amount of ads. We're still going to get the same amount of stoppages. We're still going to get the same amount of foul calls. We're still going to get the same amount of free throws. But now they're on less physical fouls. And I think that's why you see a lot of guys, you see the big men, the quote unquote big men, they're also very skinny. It's all about reach because you can't really body somebody the way you could before.
No.
I think that's why people joke, like, what would happen if, Wemby or Gobert went up against Shaq? Like, well, the problem there is about 80 pounds. The problem is not height. The problem is not reach, arm length. The problem is pure physical size. But Shaq would foul out in less than 5 minutes, I think, these days. If you've dropped Shaq into the modern era, and if you dropped Wemby into the past era, I think they would break every bone in his body.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself.
So I don't see the reason. I don't see the reason for the game changing. I don't see the reason for reducing physicality if you're going to call the same amount of whistles and we're going to stop the game just as much. Well, then what are we doing? Then what's the point of this?
Well, I agree. It's like you pointed out with the 3-second rule.
I want to shout out to Shadow, Anthony Sanchez, Woodage. Good to see Vodsky. It's good to see familiar names.
It is, yeah. We have some common names in our lives, and I definitely like to see that.
Yes, sir. John Freeman. Thank you guys for coming. But that's what I think. Like this kind of stuff right here. John Freeman saying it right now. Patrick Ewing today would be Defensive Player of the Year and an offensive juggernaut. Believe it. Yeah. So
without question. That's why, when... Oh, go ahead.
No, I said that's where I think it's at.
I mean, when Gobert wins 4 Defensive Player of the Year, it just goes to show what a soft big man era this is. In the 80s and 90s, he's not winning 1. He's not going to be top 10 in that voting for 1, let alone win 4. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I apologize. I will be right back.
Go for it. This is an interesting comment from Woodage8434 says, reason why they made the game less physical was because some of the foreign players like Dirk were getting beaten up in the game just from physical play throughout the game. That's an interesting angle. I remember the justification for the 3-second rule that was to try to reduce fouls and stoppages. They felt there were too many free throws, stopping the flow of the game. And now we have actually the same amount of free throws stopping the flow of the game, exactly the same amount. So I really do not, it mystifies me when they say, yeah, but the flow and the pace, like it's literally stopping the exact same amount. So that doesn't make sense to me. Like it's measurable. Like the number of minutes, the number of calls, the number of fouls per game is basically identical. So I don't see that. But that's an interesting angle on it. If as more European players, I mean, there were always European players, but if as more European players entered the league and encountered a more physical play, if that was hurtful in any way to some of the more famous ones, thinking, Stojakovic and and those guys, that could be, that's an interesting theory. I like that theory. That's a theory that at least makes sense with what we see on the court. That's what I like about that. So I have to think about that. But that I wonder if you map them on a calendar year over year. I wonder if that's sort of how that ends up going. I've noticed the mainstream media. Sorry, Shadow 188 says I've noticed the mainstream media is avoiding the real talk of LeBron's legacy and him being swept multiple times. That's an interesting topic. Yeah, and I do feel like it's a recent thing that they've started this thing of everybody would rather see him lose in the playoffs, or it's better to lose in the playoffs than to lose in the finals, and how crazy that is and stuff. But I haven't felt there was any difference. I feel like people have criticized or made fun of all the years that they missed the playoffs entirely, or that they got swept or gentlemen swept in the first round, or that they got in via the play-in tournament. I feel like I've heard lots of that. I don't know where they're getting the idea that it's better to lose in the first. I feel like people have criticized both sides of that for ages. So I don't know why. I don't know where that's coming from, but they do seem to put that in there as a way to avoid actually discussing what has happened in any of the series over the years. So pray for me. It's my birthday, and I'm getting too old for this crap. My birthday is also in May, and hopefully we have an announcement a little bit later on that hopefully will be a fantastic birthday present to you. It's certainly a great birthday present for me. So, look at the chat. Happy birthday, Woodage. Everybody loves Woodage. Ewing gets disrespected because of no rings because of that air guy, MJ Goat. Oh, I know Siberius is going to have a lot to say on that. But I'll go ahead and get that started. I think it's going to be the same thing. But it's interesting to me that there is amongst, I think, the older fans, at least fans who were watching those sort of 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and probably amongst the 70s and maybe even 60s crowds, if they're still watching the modern game. But it does strike me. Oh, you're good. You're just back in time. Comment here is from John Freeman. Ewing gets disrespected because of no rings because of that air guy MJ Goat. So I'm throwing out the idea that you don't hear those older fans who have watched the game for a long time, since before I would say 2013 or 2010. Nobody disrespects Ewing, even the most diehard MJ Goat fans, the diehard Kobe fans. We loved Ewing, we loved Mookie, we loved Muggsy Bogues, we loved even the little guy, Spud Webb and stuff. But we loved Neek, we loved all the main players on the main teams, even if they got swept by Jordan in those runs, or if they, no matter who they lost to, or if they never got a ring. It didn't matter. They had the utmost respect. They were legends in their team's fan base, and they were very well respected. We looked forward to watching, Mookie and Neek try to take on the Bulls, even though people, generally the odds were that the Bulls were going to win. That didn't stop anybody from loving or cheering on whoever the counter was. I know for Siberius, probably, right? You're in Seattle. We loved watching Peyton and Jordan line up. We loved watching all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's really a modern thing, I think, since post 2010, since post decision, since the sort of social media battle lines were drawn up, that there was any concept of, well, this guy was good, that means everyone else and everybody that they faced or any potential interesting matchup to watch was actually garbage. Like, I don't know where that's coming from. I mean, I think I know where that's coming from. I think that's just celebrity worship. I think that's like male Swiftie behavior.
I completely agree. There's only two places where I see current stars disparaging past eras. and it's NBA and hip hop. It's the only two places that I see it where, mumble rappers talking about, oh, Tupac sucked and he was soft, and, Easy E and, all of these guys were weak, and, and they didn't have any talent. And I'm like, what? But those are the only two places that I see it. And I don't know why it's in those two places. I genuinely feel like it's because basketball has become so weak and hip hop has become so weak that it's just a shadow of its former self that they have to tear it down to build themselves up.
I think so. I think it's this huge idea of not even for me to get taller, but for my guy to get taller, we have to cut everybody else down. And I think it contributes to sort of viewership. I think it. Oh, this is not on. I'm sorry. I've been showing you guys' comments. Didn't realize that it wasn't showing the comments. But yeah, no, I think that's sort of the idea. But I think that hurts the viewership a lot.
It does.
I think it hits hard, because why then be excited, right? So let's say that you think LeBron James is the greatest player to ever live, and you think that Kevin Durant is trash because LeBron is great, therefore Kevin Durant is garbage. Never minding the sort of modern take that, that they're both garbage. But if you believe one of those things, right? Well, then why would you tune in to watch LeBron James play against Kevin Durant? That's useless. You've already decided that one is garbage and one is great. It's an obvious winner, so there's no point in me watching. I think that's where that logic leads. And I just think it's weird that you're not interested in, okay, they say Kevin Durant is great. I personally think LeBron James is great. This should be a fun game. Let me tune into the game to watch these guys match up. Like, where is that sort of energy? That's the energy that existed, I think, up until 2010. Up until I think the decisions split everybody and started really creating huge sort of Swiftie Beyonce camps for everybody's favorite player. Before that, that's what you wanted to see. You wanted to see the great matchups. You wanted to see their guy that you think is overrated versus my guy that I, rate the highest. Let's see them square up. Or you wanted to root for the underdog. Jordan is probably better than Gary Payton, but I'm going to watch Gary Payton give it his all and try to shut him down. Or I'm going to watch, Shaq go at Hakeem, and I want to see, what these guys are made of. And we just want to see what these guys do to play against each other. You respected the opponent, and then you tuned into the game to see the competition.
Well, and that's exactly it. I wanted to see a juggernaut versus a juggernaut. I didn't have, a predetermined outcome in my brain when the Knicks played the Bulls. I pretty much knew what was going to happen because history had already told me. But I was never rooting. I never would have been unhappy if the Knicks won. I saw Jordan play 3 times live. Every time was against the Sonics, and one time the Sonics beat them. And even though I wasn't a Sonics fan, I was like, they rose to the challenge. They overcame, they were the absolute underdog going into this matchup. And they didn't lay down and die. They're like, well, you can think whatever the hell you want. We're going to fight and we're going to win. And they did.
Yeah, and I think it was more competitive. I think it drove a lot more ratings. I think people wanted to see. I think it increased, the NBA's cultural relevance. People were tuning into those battles and watching these teams overcome each other, or players try to overcome whoever their specific rival was. There was a lot more, I think, of a team. You were a fan of your team, not necessarily the player. You picked. It's funny. I caught your video the other day talking about picking the player over the game. But I think most people picked the team over both back then.
Yeah.
You wanted your team to win, and you were invested in your team. And I think that's where a lot of the loyalty from a lot of players came from as well, that they, felt bad leaving that fan base that was supporting them and all that. Whereas now the fan base travels with them. How many people, stuck it out with the Cavs and are a huge fan of the Cavs after LeBron left, you know what I mean? Or once LeBron came and stuff it follows these players, not the franchise itself. And I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good for the game. I don't think that's good for any of it.
Well, no, I don't think it is either. I mean, I was a Chicago Bulls fan when Jordan retired and he came back for the Wizards. I still respected Jordan, but I'm not a Wizards fan. So I didn't watch. I didn't care. I wasn't invested. I was like, no, my team is the Bulls. That's where I want to watch you play. On the Wizards, whatever you do, like, congratulations, good for you. But I wasn't following the player. I'm a fan of the team.
I like this point here. Jabo Music says, but at least Beyonce fans and Taylor Swift fans have a reason. Both Beyonce and Taylor Swift are actually talented. That's a good point. And I'll point out they also actually, I would assume that respective fans, I'm pretty sure Taylor Swift fans know all the songs, know all the lyrics to Taylor Swift's songs, whereas Beyonce fans know all the lyrics to all the Beyonce songs. But this one, it's like somebody else told you what the song was about, and so you go run around and talk about why they're the best. It's like, well, why don't you listen to the song? How about you decide? But it's some kind of weird, backwards, like alternate universe that I don't understand.
I mean, one thing that Taylor Swift fans and LeBron fans have in common is you cannot critique them in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. Yeah, they will come and they get rabid about it.
It's sad.
Like this, the Shadow writes, the NBA storylines were so amazing in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. The players actually loved and respected the game, knowing what the game was able to provide to them. Yeah, I think so. I think that's totally true. I singularly put the marker on 2010. I think that is when everything started changing. I really think it was the decision. That's where a lot of my anger comes from. Is that just changed everything? That changed the media strategy, that changed the financial strategy, that changed the blueprint for how to profit from the game, how to extract from the game, how to extract from the fan base, how to extract from all of it. And that sort of pushed this thing that I think access journalism really takes off after there. ESPN gets taken over by Spring Hill and Clutch Sports. Within the next, by 2015, it's over. And 2013 is where the big split happened, which I'll make a video about later. The timeline of that, it's wild to, when you look at the internals of that. But it all stems from that fact that you don't need to stay with a team. You don't need to overcome that stuff. You don't need to be loyal to a fan base. It's not about winning. It's not about victory. It's not about rings. This is entirely about spectacle. And if the media does not cover the spectacle the way you want them to, then you just deny the media access, or you don't partner with the media network for the content that now drives attention. And so everybody falls in line with that from that moment on.
Yeah.
That's my theory on it. That's how I view the timeline. That's my perspective on it. Anybody's welcome to disagree, but I think that's where it really changes. I think that's the singular moment. Even David Stern was against it, by the way. Even David Stern sort of predicted some of that and thought that wasn't going to be healthy for the game. He retires and then passes away a few years later, and here we are. His words, were 100% right.
Yeah. Well, and Adam Silver becoming the commissioner in 2014, because I've been very vocal about the fact that I stopped watching the NBA after Jordan retired and started watching in 2020. However, because I want to understand the history of the game, I've gone back, I've watched a lot of games, I've paid attention to a lot of the narratives. I wanted to have an understanding of that time that I missed. And I absolutely agree that 2010 is about when, let's just say, the NBA started to die. But it was 2014 where it really, really went downhill and started becoming, that seems to me when the officiating really changed, as far as the officiating on the court being so in contrast to the actual rules.
Yeah.
And where they started favoring offense over defense, because people were even still playing a modicum of defense, like maybe not elite defense, but they were putting in a lot more effort than they're trying now.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
2014 is when he came into the league and started making all of those changes and started thinking that whole mindset of physical defense got too physical in the 80s and 90s, and we need to tone that back. And that's what the viewers want to see. And, and it's a game of highlights. And I don't know where he got these ideas from, but it wasn't from the fans. That's not what the fans wanted to see. I mean, viewership had already started to drop off significantly by that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was already declining quite a bit, but we see the steepest declines following 2010, and then by 2015, it's just it's not even half of what it used to be, and then it kind of just remains there. Which is why I always find it funny, when they talk about like, oh, but this year viewership was up, 3%, or this year it was up by 4% or something. Right now, and then 3 months later, it's back down again. But regardless, when they push that stuff, it's like, I mean, how do you want me to get excited about 3% growth or a 5% growth when you are less than half of your peak? Like, I mean, that's great. I guess that's true. I mean, that's like, I have $100. You take $50 or $60 or $73, depending on which number you like. But so let's put it in the middle. You take $60 from me. I now have $40, and now I'm supposed to be pumped that I found another dollar, in the washing machine. Like, no, man, I'm still out like $59.
Yeah. No,
that's not making my day yet. Like, where's my money? So, it's just such a weird logic that they push with this stuff.
It's because they have to pretend. I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. They're having to pretend. They're pretending that the fans are still engaged, that they're pretending that the game is still as good. They're pretending that people are invested, and that, that there aren't lies and there aren't narratives, and that this is the best basketball has ever been. They have to pretend that the stars are bigger, stronger, faster. There's no reality in any of it. So they have to pretend across the entire board. It's why the media is on the same page. The announcers are on the same page. The basketball players are on the same page, all saying the same things. Because if they say it enough, if they regurgitate it enough, their fan base starts regurgitating it. And we see it all the time. I mean, I don't know if the fanboys are bots. It almost makes me think that they are, because they just say the exact same thing over and over and over. And I'm like, there's no way that somebody could look at something on my channel and all have the exact same verbiage. That's just not possible. Not everybody thinks the same way. Not everybody has the same vocabulary. Like,
well, they do if they're all repeating the same person.
It's true. It's true.
So if it's not their vocabulary, then yeah. I want to go back to this comment because I just thought it was very funny. Rap God Reloaded in with LeBron is the first manufactured star that you can't criticize at all. Before LeBron, it was Lance Armstrong.
It's true.
I think it's going to be an interesting question in the future to see if both those stories end up the same.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny because I just watched a documentary on Lance Armstrong. I followed it all live, like while it was happening, him winning all the back-to-backs. Mm-hmm. And then all of his outrage at, of being. The thing that I find really interesting, though, is he always addressed it. Anytime anybody accused him of, of doping, he was aggressively in their face saying, you don't know what you're talking about, and you've never done this, and you don't know what it takes, and you're just being incredibly insulting to people. So it's interesting that LeBron's alleged doping, he's just completely silent. He's never addressed it. Like, it doesn't even exist. So it is going to be very interesting if those two paths run parallel to each other, from their beginning to their end. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of parallels, I think, to it. Although I don't think anybody was really criticizing Lance Armstrong much. That was more of a shock. I don't think that if all that stuff is to be believed, and if that stuff ever comes out to be true, I don't think there would be a shock. At least I don't think anybody would be shocked by it at all.
No. So one thing that I thought was funny that I actually didn't even realize when I was making the video about picking the player over the game, all of those players were either accused of juicing, from Ben Johnson to Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds to Lance Armstrong, now to LeBron. That was never my connection. I didn't make that connection until after I had made the video and posted the video, and then thought, oh, all of those players were accused of doping. My thought process while making it was they all cheated the game and then people defended them in some capacity. I didn't make that connection. So it was afterward that I'm like, I don't know how I didn't make that connection. It's obvious. But I didn't.
It's a good point. I think it's a good. I think that's actually a good segue to go into in terms of the LA fan behavior, what you were talking about there, in terms of how the things that they say, the things you get on your channel, the picking the player over the game. I definitely want to make sure you get a good moment to expand on that. I thought that was an interesting topic.
What I found very interesting is in game 2, they have that powwow with the refs at the end of the game, which I find deplorable. And there needs to be a thing like a team technical, because that's absolutely what that should have been. And then you have JJ Redick making all of his complaints in the excuse me, in the post-game press conference. And then in the very next game, in game 3, the Lakers get 15 more free throws. What? So apparently crying works. I mean, they still didn't win. Like, they still got blown out. Like, if you take away those 15 free throws that they got and how many ever points they got from them, it just makes it an even bigger blowout if they didn't get them. But it says to me that the players whining, the coach whining, the fans whining changed what happened on the court, because OKC did have a very small, but they did have a free throw disparity over the Lakers. And now in one game, that disparity has flipped significantly. How did that happen?
I mean, I'll say it's all blue in the face. I think that happened with the rise of, players having personal brands, being able to monetize their personal brand value to the extreme. I think when everything becomes about that, then, you can't really make it about basketball again. When basketball is just the means to that end rather than the goal itself. I think even Kobe talked about this over a decade ago. Right? Kobe talked about how at that time, he felt he had a harder time. He found more competition in AAU back then because all those guys were fighting hard to get into the league as a means of securing, financial success. And so it was harder for him to take those guys out, take his list, take those guys out. Whereas once he got to the NBA, he felt it was easier, that there was less competition, that it was easier to take other guys out because so many players, were complacent. So many players were like, no, but now I'm here. Now I can make this money. Now I have the money. So it's okay if I don't really fight as hard or compete as hard.
Yeah.
He was talking about that over a decade ago. And I think now it's just that, but exponentially worse. That has evolved and continued growing to the point now where it's funny when they talk about, game has less defense. I would argue the game has more defense. I would argue the game has more defense than ever before. I would argue we are in the greatest, not necessarily the greatest, but in the most defensive era of basketball ever. I think we're all just looking at it wrong. Up until recent years, I don't remember any of the offenses playing defense against themselves. Like players used to try to knock you to the ground, but now you're happy to throw yourself to the ground. Like if you're going to play defense on yourself, like, okay, well, can we count that? Do we need to reshape the stats? Like, how do we, like, can we count how many times somebody, just gives away the ball compared to a steal? Like we talk about turnovers, but like, what about when you just give it away? What about when the other player makes no effort to that? Or when you fall down and cause the stoppage, or when you fall down and cause the problem? Like, but like it's just nonsense to me. And to hear this stuff like these are the greatest athletes, this is the greatest skilled era of basketball. You know what? That might be true. I joke about this with you all the time. That might be true. Maybe we are looking, and we probably are, honestly, with all the biomechanics and biotechnology and all the stuff that they can do now. And AI, they got lasers looking at measuring the exact movements and by millimeter and the exact wrist angle and all this kind of stuff. Maybe we're actually looking at the best, most finely tuned athletes in the history of sports. Could be true. You might be right. I wouldn't even argue with you. Unfortunately, we will never find out because we will never actually see them play the game. So how do we know? How would we ever know that? Like maybe he is the best. If he could stay on his feet for more than one possession, I'd be happy to see it. But we try to watch these games. There was a comment earlier asking if we've ever actually watched a full playoff game because of how difficult it is. And yes, our first live stream, or my first time hosting a stream, was myself, Siberius, and AOH. And we all watched the entirety. We didn't even leave early because it was my first stream. And I appreciate both of y'all, being crazy supportive and sticking it out. But I mean, it was a challenge. It was an Everest of an achievement to try to actually make it through the full fucking game. It's like really 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that was, Lakers OKC. What was it? Game one, I think, or game two?
Game one, yeah.
Yeah, game one. And it's just like, man, this is tough. This is tough to get through. Everybody just throwing themselves on the floor.
So, well, and the part that I found so funny about it, and
there's an inner ear infection epidemic in basketball. I guess nobody has any balance.
Absolutely, but what was so funny is it's the current MVP, or who absolutely will be the current MVP, and the reigning MVP, and the reigning NBA champion, versus some people's greatest of all time. How is that such terrible basketball? It's the greatest team that the NBA has to offer right now with OKC Thunder, and the team that the greatest player of all time is on. How does that equal garbage basketball nobody wants to watch?
Well,
I can't make that make sense in my brain. Like, this should be the best basketball I've ever seen. And it was like climbing Everest. Like 10 times I just wanted to give up and throw in the towel.
Yeah, I could hear AOH getting more and more just like, oh man, we really got to sit through the rest of this. Like, yep. Like it's that difficult. It's actually a great little segue though to the next topic, which is the NBA, the playoff viewership. Because we mentioned it a little bit, but it's a fascinating thing. Before we get into that, I want to address a couple of the comments here. Javo, and again, can you imagine a Dennis Rodman in this era? Unfortunately, they would make him dial down his intensity. You can't have great defensive players in this era. They get penalized and punished. So we actually had a discussion about this a couple weeks ago. I think it's on Siberius's live, so you want to go back and check it out. But we had a lot to say on that idea. We have the theory that Dennis Rodman would be uniquely the most effective player in today's era without fouling out, without playing physically. I think he could best adapt to this era. Because I think if you put social media, if you put Twitter in the hands of Dennis Rodman, I think he would make it his entire life's mission to sit there and needle at and throw memes at and throw shade at and outright call out. I think he would be making fun of every rival or anyone that he considered to be a rival mercilessly 24 hours a day. Like KD wants to argue with people on burner accounts. I think Rodman would just straight from his main account would just be driving people insane. I think the psychological games that guy was able to play on the court transcend, I think, any era. I don't think he has to lay a finger on anybody other than one or two to sort of, get under their skin physically in the game as well. But I think he would just be a terror to the NBA. Like I think people are so concerned with their image and their brand image and their social media highlight reels that I think Rodman would be the biggest problem. I think he'd be out to embarrass everybody because I think he would sort of dial into the idea that embarrassment is their biggest weakness. It's not any problem in their game that's their biggest weakness. It's their fear of looking bad or lowering their brand value that I think Rodman would just abuse mercilessly.
Oh, and I completely agree. And he proved back then he didn't care what people thought. He didn't care what the media thought. He didn't care what the fans thought. He thought, I'm here to play my game. You cannot critique my play on the court. I don't care if you come up with these stupid false narratives about me. I don't care what you think about me. So he would know that everybody's brand. Excuse me, man, this stupid cough will not go away. He would know that everybody's fragile about their brand, and he would know he doesn't care about his. So he would just be constantly attacking them. Constantly. Like you said, it would be a never end. Like he'd be up at 4 a.m. tweeting about them, memeing about them, getting in their head, like up until the minute of tip-off. And then as soon as tip-off happens, he'll be smart. Anybody can say whatever they want to about Rodman, but he had intention with everything that he did on the court. Even when it seemed unhinged, he still had intention when he did it. He's incredibly smart. So if he knows that he's going to foul out if he plays too physical, he's not going to play too physical. He's just going to get in your head. And he'll let you be your downfall.
Yeah, I think if he had the ability to get in your head like that in between games and off the court and at 2 a.m, I cannot imagine, like, what would that even be like? That would just be insane. I think that would be the craziest thing to see.
It would be, yeah, it would be.
I would definitely pay money to see that. I think this is a good point here too, though. I think this is the correct. I think this is the correct thing. I think this is factually correct. I think Geloso says, I think Dennis Rodman would be the most fined player in today's modern era. That is 100% true. He would definitely owe the league the most money by the end.
Just like he almost owed the league the most money back then. Like, yeah, I don't think that's going to change. Because he is going to be calling out things. He 100% would be calling out refs for their bad officiating. Like, yeah, he would absolutely be the most fined player. I completely agree with that.
Like this too. Hakeem would run roughshod in today's NBA. No one would have an answer to him. Oh my God, dude, the footwork, everything about Hakeem, I think would just destroy. I think today. I don't know who, especially if you can't get physical with him either. Like, forget it.
Oh, he would just absolutely dominate. No one could handle his fundamentals. So he's going to make everyone look stupid. He's going to box you out better than anyone else. He's going to post up better than anyone else. The dream shake is going to fool everyone and make them look stupid. Like, again, would pay money to see that.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot of the same type of behavior that you see now, where people like run away from anybody who could make them look bad. I think everybody would be running away from Hakeem. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of that. Have all the social media clips of them just getting outplayed by this giant.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I said, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. I'm happy to be shown. I would love, actually, that's my biggest hope, is that a lot of this stuff can end. A lot of that they can start actually improving the product that is actually on the court, specifically to prove me wrong. Like, allow them to play that way. Stop rewarding this kind of nonsense, and let me see the skill. Let me see, let's, put Jokic and Gobert in there and stop calling every stupid thing. Stop stopping the game every 5 seconds. Nobody duck away from, bad highlights. Nobody duck away from social media controversy about it. Let these two guys go at each other and let's see how skilled they are. Let's see which one is more skilled than the other, and let's see how their skills actually compare to skilled players of former eras that were allowed to play basketball. I would love to see it. I would love to be proven wrong. It would make me so happy if they improved the game on the court and every single player that we saw down to, the 12th man, they were all proven to be more skilled and better at basketball than every single player pre-2010.
Yep.
That would make me the happiest fan in the world.
I agree. And if they could prove that, I'm watching every game.
Yeah. But so long as you are incentivizing the opposite, so long as you're rewarding the opposite, and so long as players are terrified to actually try to play, well, then who cares? I don't care if they are more skilled or more athletic. There's no point in watching this.
Yep.
Like, he's the most skilled player to ever not play basketball. Why would I pay money to watch that?
Yeah.
I do currently. I already watch less skilled players play better basketball. It is a far more entertaining thing. Shout out to FIBA. Shout out to EuroLeague. I mean, yeah, they're not as good as they're not as skilled as the greats of the NBA, but they're playing basketball and they play basketball for the entire game. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a better product. It's more fun to watch. I would rather watch that. My dream is to go back to a day where we're watching the greatest basketball players play basketball. But if I have to choose between watch the greatest basketball players or watch the greatest basketball, well, I'm choosing the latter every time. Why would I watch great players not play basketball? That's a complete waste of time. And I'm not alone in this. Even fanboys, even people who stand for this kind of stuff, well, how come they're not watching? So clearly you've also, I mean, you can say whatever you want. You can tweet whatever you want. You can put whatever you want in the comments. You can, curse at us. You can, repeat whatever you hear on TV. But at the end of the day, when you're home in the evening by yourself and you want to watch something, you're not putting on that game.
Nope.
Your behavior does not lie. Your purchase behavior does not lie. You spend money on other things. You don't spend money on this. You watch other things. You don't watch this. You'll sit there and comment on everybody's channel talking about it instead of actually watching the game when it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's just, you voted with your feet, you voted with your wallet. The reality is you don't want to watch it either.
I made a video, many, many months ago, last season, in fact, talking about FIBA basketball. And I had never heard of it up until that point. And I watched an entire game. And then I watched another entire game and was talking about, this is better. Whatever this is, whatever you want to call it, it's better than the NBA. You can even not call it basketball. You can call it not American basketball, whatever. It's still a better product than the NBA.
I think so. I think EuroLeague is, and particularly EuroLeague, is it's outstanding. Also, shout out to EuroLeague. If anybody is actually interested in checking this out or fact checking me and seeing for themselves if they don't already watch, the playoffs are beginning now. So it's actually a fantastic time. It's super cheap. You can subscribe for like 1 month and catch the whole playoffs over there. The big three teams, if you're interested to check out like a good game or good matchups, you want to watch the two teams, the two Greek teams and Real Madrid from Spain. You check out those, not Barcelona, but by all means check out Barcelona. But Real Madrid and the two Greek teams are the ones to watch if you want to see like real good stuff. The Serbian ones are good too, but that's a little. You mostly want to see them play each other. They're not actually doing that great this year. They're
right.
One of them actually is not making the playoffs, and the other one is partly in there. But anyway, like they're in there, but they're probably not going to go very far. But anyway, the point is, the tournament is happening now. The tournament starts, I think, just in a couple days, and so it's outstanding stuff. Go give it a try. Just go check it out. I think you can get it for like $25 or something here. So $25 for 1 month of that.
Say you should check it out. it is worth checking out. I mean, whether, you're going to end up watching every game, who can say? But I watched multiple full games. And with the exception of the stream that we did watching a full game, I have not done that in a very long time. So that says something to me. Hopefully it says something to you, given all of the things that I say about the modern NBA, the fact that I sat down and watched at least 2 full games. It's a better product.
It is. You have coaches that actually coach. You have systems that actually run. It's just in 500. That's a whole live stream in itself. That's a topic for another day. But
yeah.
I mean, there's a whole. I can go on forever hyping that up, which is why I'm very interested in the NBA Europe stuff. That's something I want to cover a lot of in the coming months and in the coming couple of years, because I'm very hot on that. I'm very hopeful. Shout out to Joel. I want to shout out to Joel real quick in the chat. Good to see you.
I was just going to do that, so thank you for doing so.
I like this. John Freeman, all the money and gambling has ruined the ethics of the game. It's about points, rebounds, assists, steals, point differential, plus minus. What are we doing? What we're doing is not watching. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
What we're doing is not watching. That's what every single one of those things has that in common. So the game itself is not as interesting to watch. So we're going to bet on it and keep track of all the gambling odds all over the screen. We are going to talk about points, rebounds, assists, steals, point differentials, plus minus, advanced statistics, all this kind of stuff. Why? Because it's an interesting box that is infinitely more interesting to argue about and do math on than it is to actually watch the game on the actual screen and see how they played. So are we impressed with 20 points when 12 of them were in the last, 5 minutes when you were being blown out by 40 points? No, we're not impressed with that if we watch the game. But if we don't watch the game and we just look at the box after the game so that we can argue about it on Twitter or something, then that's really impressive. Wow, that's a lot of points. Amazing. Like, that's what it is. I think that's what it all has in common. Is all of these things, I think, are things to try to keep people invested or hold people's attention when the game on the court doesn't.
It's true. I mean, there's a reason why box score without context is on the LeBron fanboy excuse checklist. And I've actually been thinking I need to make a modern NBA apologist excuse checklist. However, they'll basically be the same thing because they all just use the same excuses for everything. But yeah, box score without context is impressive. If you look at the box score and you see, 27, 8, and 6, you're like, oh, wow, that's not a bad game. Until you examine the context of those points, of those assists, of those rebounds, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, never mind that. None of that was impressive.
We have an opportunity here. I want to shout out to Mr. Tiago TNT. He says, greetings from Portugal. Greetings. Welcome.
Glad to have you, man.
I'm curious if you want to put it in the chat. We were actually just talking, I don't know if you caught, but a few seconds ago, we were just talking about all the virtues and wonderfulness of EuroLeague and, to a close degree, FIBA. Personally, I'm a little hotter on EuroLeague than FIBA, but they're both, I think, outstanding. But we were just talking about the playoffs in EuroLeague. I'm curious, do you watch EuroLeague or are you mostly NBA, American NBA, or both? I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on that. Mr.
I would be curious to know as well. Yeah, especially if you watch both. And if you watch both, which do you think is better? Which are you investing more of your time and energy into? I would certainly love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yep. It had become a highlight content when looking at the NBA today. Most of us don't watch games anymore. It's true. It's true. I love this. In this era, big country Bryant Reeves would be the Joker. It's true. Sean Bradley, the first Chet Holm. Man, shout out to Sean Bradley. Shout out to Bryant Reeves. Oh man, those are fantastic. Yeah, highlight sport, Adam Silver. It's it is what it is. But on that note, so back to what we were talking about in terms of the ratings, in terms of watching the games. So we have here an interesting situation. We have the greatest of all time, the greatest basketball player to ever live in LeBron James, is facing off against the young MVP and returning champion. So he already has a ring. He's young. He's the new blood. Potentially, people talking about new face of the league and all this kind of stuff. Which I will get back to that comment. Someone was asking about the face of the league. But so we have the GOAT, the greatest of all time, versus the current MVP and defending champion. Surely, when I go look at the numbers that have been released, surely I'm going to see that is the most watched series, not only ever in the history of basketball, but surely that's going to be the most watched series just of this week, just of this past week. Surely everybody's tuning in to watch the greatest of all time against the current MVP. And I think probably everybody already knows what I'm gonna throw down. But nope, it's like fourth or something. Somehow that is just not doing anything. So for all the hype, GOAT and MVP, where is everybody? No one wants to see that? No one wants to watch it, huh? That's amazing. That's truly fascinating stuff. But the Spurs got higher ratings. New York got higher ratings. There's more people watching those. And it's not like a small difference either. It's like several million people. I think that's wild. I think it's the funniest thing. I just think it's the funniest thing out there. It's crazy to me. Oh, so got a quick response here from Mr. Tiago.
Yeah,
do you want to read it?
I was just going to say to highlight that. Yeah.
Go ahead. You read it.
For now, I only watch the NBA, but when I was a teenager, I used to watch the EuroLeague a lot. Back when Manu Ginobili and Marko Jaric were setting the EuroLeague ablaze with the team Kender I'm not going to try to pronounce that and embarrass myself.
Kinder Bologna. Bologna.
I mean, I know that in America we would pronounce that as baloney, but I was like, do they say that way elsewhere? Don't know if they do.
Man, shout out Ginobili. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yep.
Last time I watched EuroLeague was Luka won with Real Madrid and was MVP. Now, I think it's great, man. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's a ball. I should point out for you to know, I don't know where your allegiances lie over there, but my wife is from Serbia, came here in the 90s, and her family is completely split. Half of them are Partizan and half of them are not, which makes for extremely fun conversations, listening to them shout at each other about it. And those games are crazy. Those games are absolutely insane. When Serbia plays, when the two Serbia clubs play each other, holy crap. You want to talk about fan investment. That is, I would say, not by numbers, but in terms of by enthusiasm, it's louder, it's wilder than even you go back to like the peak of the 98, Bulls Jazz.
Yeah.
Got nothing against when the two local Serbian clubs play each other. Those people go crazy. They're lighting fire. Stuff is on fire while they're playing. It's nuts. But it's amazing. It's incredible. So I've been very blessed to have gotten introduced to that stuff years ago by my now wife, and it's just awesome. It's just great. Yeah, in Serbia and Greece, basketball is insane. Check some videos from the supporters during games. Mr. Tiago, absolutely, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. That's who we're watching this year, by the way. We're watching both the Greek teams. And, always watch Real Madrid, I guess. But, some level of kind of underdog is fun to watch. But I love it, and I think it's wild. Just one of the quick differences I'm going to toss out there for people who may not be familiar: the 3-point line is closer to the rim, and they still shoot less of them. It's true offensive systems, and believe it or not, I know nobody's going to believe me, but please just try to trust me. If you can believe it, they stand on both legs, and they remain standing on both legs for most of the 40 minutes. I know in 2026, I know that sounds crazy to everybody, but they actually can stay on their feet. They don't just fall down every other possession. So it's weird. I know it's very old fashioned, but those of us who are into old fashioned stuff, That's what's up. I just think it's amazing. Old Grizzlies fans. We got old Grizzlies fans.
I saw
We
that.
got Vancouver. Canada is in the chat. Vancouver Grizzlies fans. Man, that is something. That is amazing.
We were just talking about the Grizzlies the other day, and it was blowing both of our minds.
Yeah.
So shout out to Grizzlies fans. Like, you had to earn that fandom. They weren't giving that away.
So this is a good little segue here. Rap got to ask, from the 50s to present, who has been the best and worst face in NBA history? And this, I think, someone asked before. Forgive me if I can't remember your handle here, your name, but in terms of who do we think is going to be the next face of the league? So my take on that is going to be very simple. I don't think there should be a next face of the league. I don't want there to be a face of the league.
Yep.
If there is a face of the league, I would like to see them earn it in their later veteran years and not start any of that early. All the previous sort of faces of the league, I would say from Jordan and before, became the faces of the league organically, and then they were promoted once they were proven to be the most dominant players of their eras.
Yeah.
Whereas once Jordan retired and the hunt began to find, who's going to be the next face, was Kobe for a while. And then, all that stuff in Colorado. So then in 2003, they're looking for a new one. And so then LeBron suddenly takes in there. And then there was arguments for T-Mac. There was like 7 players that were, that the media, that they weren't competing, but the media was competing over who would sort of grab everybody's attention and be that face of the league. That's what I hope to see happen. I hope to see that either there's one organically that sort of earns it over, 5, 6, 7, consecutive years of improving and just spectacular play, that everybody sort of organically just, okay, that guy's clearly the best. That guy's clearly the face of the league. Or a return to not having one at all and being more just about the league. I mean, who was the face of the league in the 80s? I would argue that you had 2. I would argue that it was, Showtime and the Celtics. I feel like you had, both their faces. You had Bird and Magic's faces on everything, but it wasn't just one, and the other one was the challenger to it, or the other one was garbage. It was both were outstanding, and everybody can't wait to watch them both. So I'd love to see that. I would love to see the team of the era. I would like to see the dominant team, or the franchise that's the face of the league. I would like to see, like you had before, where even with all the greatest players ever and all that kind of stuff, you still had die-hard Hawks fans showing up for Neek, showing up for Mutombo, showing up for Spud, showing up for all these guys, regardless of who the best player was somewhere else. Who gives a shit? I live in Atlanta, or I'm from Atlanta, or I have some connection to Atlanta, or for whatever reason, I just like Atlanta. And so I'm going to root for Atlanta, and I'm going to show up and support all the players on Atlanta. That's what I hope to see come back. Which is, by the way, is very similar. I think Mr. Tiago can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that that's how it is in EuroLeague. And so people are really interested in their own country or nearby country. And then those are their players, even if they're not even good, or even if they're 7th best, doesn't matter. They love them anyway. They show up, they support. So I would love to see that come back to the American NBA for sure. I hope that continues into NBA Europe. That's what I'm going to be watching for. That's what I'm going to be interested in. But that's what I hope for in terms of faces of the league.
No, I agree. Rap God said in the 2000s, there wasn't one face of the league. It was a multiple of players like AI, Duncan, KG, T-Mac, Shaq, Kobe, Dirk, etc.
Yep.
I think that's what needs to be the face of the league, is the greatness of the league. Jordan wasn't always the face of the league. And before he was, it was Barkley, Ewing, Stockton, Malone, Kemp. Like it was Reggie, like all of the great players of the decade demonstrating the greatness of the league as a collective whole, not just one person. And ever since Jordan, well, even before that, even since Bird and Magic and then into Jordan, now they're just trying to force it. So let it go. Like, you haven't picked right. Jordan didn't pick. They didn't pick Jordan. He became. Now they keep trying to pick and they're picking wrong. So they need to just let it go. Let the game be the face of the league. Let a collection of players be the face of the league. One person can't do it, especially in this modern era. Their game isn't strong enough. Their charisma and charm when talking to the media isn't strong enough. Their personal character and integrity isn't strong enough. There isn't an individual that can do it, so stop trying.
Yep, totally agree. And this one, M. Hunter Stevie coming in with it, perfectly timed. Yeah, the true faces of the league happen naturally. Magic and Bird was fully natural. Jordan was fully natural. I would argue, I'm going to add to that Dr. J before.
Yes.
But yeah, everything after everything after was NBA/media trying to recreate Jordan artificially. Yep. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly it. Trying to make this artificial, I think, is terrible. I think that would, who's got the best brand value? Who's the best for, PR, for marketing? Who can we push in that sense? But it's diverged from who's actually winning the most, who's actually doing the most. And more importantly, I go back to this. Who are people organically who watch the games? Who are they actually watching the most? When you have the Spurs and the Knicks and the Pacers, when you have all these other teams have the highest viewership now over the greatest of all time versus the MVP, I don't care what anybody says. Putting either of those as the face of the league is not organic. That's not real. It's not real. It's not who people are tuning in to watch. It's not what people want to see. It's not who people are interested in. You can put whatever you want in the little box score, but that's not what people want to see with their eyes. So I don't see how it can be the face of the league. It's crazy.
So I just have to point this out real quick. Miss S. Flanagan asks, why do y'all time out anyone that doesn't agree with you? I have no issue with people that don't agree. But if you're not offering insight, if you don't have a cogent argument or can add to the conversation in a productive way, you don't need to be here. If you can do that, you are absolutely allowed to stay. You can interject. We will read your comments. But if you don't have anything positive to say, and especially if you're going to spread bullshit lies and narratives or parrot back all of the things that we've already heard, you don't get a voice here.
I'm going to toss out there. Siberius is talking about his chat. You're welcome to come spew all that shit in my chat. I have no problem with it whatsoever. You can absolutely come over on my chat here. You can put all the crazy stuff you want to say. As long as you're respectful to others in the chat, as long as you're not spamming, I will totally entertain that stuff. I find it funny. Siberius doesn't want to host, doesn't want to have that stuff at all. You may or may not be visible in my chat. You may or may not, get your thing read or anything. But you're welcome to come spew that stuff. I have no problem farming that material, none whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, there you
Feel
go.
free, come on over. If you get out of hand, or you start a bunch of shit with chatters that are trying to enjoy the stream, then you'll be warned and then quietly removed. But if you want to come say that nonsense here, I'll farm it for days. I got no problem with that.
And that's where we differ. So absolutely feel free to go over to PMR Hoops and spew your nonsense there. If you have something of value to offer, I was going to say I'm welcome to hear it on mine.
There it is. Oh, I like this. Drazen Petrovic fan. Sarunas Marcelonis.
Ooh, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Right? I can't even remember the last time anybody ever talked about it. Man, what a legend. That's so sad. That's
a name that should be mentioned more.
That's tragic, but what a legend. What a god. What a god amongst men. That's why we couldn't have him for very long. I'm convinced. That's why that happened. Like this, because they're emotional and disrespectful, you don't get to come on this channel and do that BS. I can respect a different opinion, but I can't respect the fanboys. Well, I didn't say anybody would respect it. I'm just saying that you're welcome to say it. I don't have to respect it. Who said I had to respect anything? I respect what is respectable. If you act respectably, you speak respectably, and you're respectful of others in the chat, then you're welcome to be here.
It's just like in my videos. If you have something of value to offer, great. If you don't, I will not only remove your comment, screenshot it so I can make fun of you later. I'll also block you from my channel so you can't comment anymore.
There it is. This. So Vodesky asks, why are they still covering LeBron? Shouldn't the mainstream media be eager to find another face? I think they're now starting to profit. I think they're now going after sort of the controversy itself or the downfall of it. I don't think they know who to rally around, and he still is a pretty big media draw. He still has a lot of power in the league, like structurally. His now it's Full Entertainment, but sort of his Spring Hill and Clutch Sports and his whole little empire there with agencies and media companies. I think that's why they still have to. There's going to be a lot of videos about that coming up, but that's where I think that's coming from.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see more faces, more people that are not in that sphere or are not dependent on that sphere, or not dependent on those relationships or those connections outside of those networks, seemingly very happy to jump in on it. I think we have passed the tipping point. That's something I wanted to talk about was what you were talking about, Siberius, in terms of the logic and the things and the way that now fanboys try to sort of disguise these things in terms of being called. Hang on. So this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. So nobody should ever be disrespectful. Sorry, Mrs. S. Flanagan. Thank you for your comment. Nobody should ever be disrespectful, but being called a fanboy because we don't agree with you is juvenile. It partly is juvenile. That's true. I think fanboy long predates any LeBron things or fanboys of, I remember Apple fanboys versus Windows fanboys. I remember fanboys of Little Caesars versus Pizza Hut. I think that's always been a way to put it. People who reject or refuse to acknowledge or look at any criticism of the thing that they're fans of. I think that's generally true. So I think, if the shoe fits, I got no problem with that. But what I'm trying to say is this idea of distancing from fanboy or distancing from, well, I'm not like a LeBron fan, but, and then insert, whatever they're going to say also. I think it's reached a tipping point because nobody used to say that even a year ago.
No,
I think this past season is really where it kind of broke over to the tipping point. And now what used to be the majority sort of social opinion has now, I think, found itself in the minority social opinion. And so now the thing to do is distance yourself from the old majority while still maintaining some of the arguments from when it was the majority in order to loosely fit into the new majority that is against this stuff and that is tired of Clutch Sports, that is tired of Spring Hill, that is tired of LeBron's influence on the league, that is tired of this kind of behavior in basketball. I think that's my theory. It's totally a theory. But that's my perspective on it. That seems to be the case. I think that's happened with lots of popular topics before, but that seems to be the case. And I also want to point out the funny strategy on Rich Paul himself going on these podcasts and doing the diet version of what's happened in other media, sort of blaming the fans for hating the product as opposed to blaming the product for why fans hate it. So, but the point is those two behaviors have gone in line with other franchises, with other IPs, with other popular topics in sort of the social media age. So that's my view on it. That's my theory on why that's starting to happen. I'm happy to hear any agreements or disagreements, but that's what I think is happening, and I think that's going to continue.
I touched base on that in my most recent Fanboy Said What things that all fanboys say, where people will either say, like you said, I'm not a LeBron fan, but that has become incredibly commonplace. Or the other thing that I highlighted is I'm a Scottie Pippen fan, but.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. You're just disguising your stupid bullshit under the guise of being a fan of somebody else. And that's not respectful. That's not genuine. like, be who you are. Like, I would at least respect you more if you said, I am a LeBron fan and I think this is bullshit. Okay, well, I still disagree with you. You still don't get to have a voice on my channel, but at least at least you're standing behind what you think. When you have to disguise it as not a LeBron fan, but which, oh my God, that just runs rampant now. So the other thing that I have to say to Miss S. Flanagan is, I have not seen any of your comments where you were disagreeing with us. So if you made one of those comments, I must have missed it, but I scrolled back up, didn't see it. So I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about.
I like this though. I do like it. I respect it. I have MJ as the GOAT, but LeBron is number 2 to me. We can love both. It's not an either or with me. That's great. I'm very happy to see that. I think, I mean, I disagree with LeBron being number 2. He would not be in my number 2, but and it's not, because MJ is the GOAT. I don't care if you have MJ number 5 and LeBron number 6 or LeBron number 9. I do think it's reasonable to have whatever opinion you want to have based on reasonable arguments, based on reasonable stuff. That's great. I think it's absolutely possible to sort of have a reasonable argument, even if I disagree with it, or I disagree with that reasoning, or I don't think that. I don't know. I'm personally not able to see a way to love both at the same time, because I view them as polar opposites in terms of their approach to the game, in their approach to winning, in the way that they play, in the way that they conduct themselves with other players, what they say about their teammates, and the influence they've had on the league itself, and sort of, the off-court sort of influences they've had. So to me, it's not possible to do that. But I totally respect anybody else's opinion. Everybody's free to think whatever they want about it. That's just where I stand on it. That's on my opinion.
I think people can have whatever opinion they want. I will say that. However, LeBron is the antithesis of Michael Jordan.
I mean, that's what I think personally.
If you agree with his flopping, with his load management, with his team hopping, with his super team building, with his team hijacking, I'm sorry. I cannot and will not respect anyone who thinks that any of that shit is okay. It is not. It is against sports. It is against sportsmanship. It is against character, class, integrity, dignity, all of those things. You cannot put them in the same category. You cannot love them both. That is not possible because they are opposites of each other. They are not the same.
Well,
and you said you think he transcended the game. Elaborate. I'm going to need you to give me specific examples of how LeBron transcended the game. And if you say fucking longevity, I will block you from this channel.
Shout out to AOH in the chat. It's a good moment for you to enter. By the way, open invite. If you want, I'm happy to send you a link if you want to call in at any point. But yeah, no, I 1000% agree with that. But again, that's my perspective. I do not understand how anybody has the opposite perspective. I do not understand how both of those things can be true at the same time. But, I make room for everybody. It doesn't bother me if anybody thinks that kind of stuff. My view is what my view is, and my thesis here, and especially on my channel, what most of my videos are about, are really how this has, in my opinion, gotten itself. I think the rot has gotten all the way down into the deep structures of the league itself. I think, for example, I'll just give you a little preview. Tomorrow's video coming out is on this flopping and foul baiting and stuff like that, but not in terms of any one player doing it, but in terms of since it started happening. Since it started sort of late 2000s, 2010 sort of area is really where this starts to rise. The league protects it. The league actively protects it for all that the Lakers and JJ Redick and all these people, get mad about SGA flopping, for all that the Lakers get accused of flopping, for all that everybody accuses everybody of flopping. This was unanimously voted on multiple times by every team in the league. The Lakers voted for this. The Lakers actually have a seat on the committee that makes the rules about this. The Lakers were on the committee that proposed the fine, and they all voted to put in a lowered fine. So all this complaining to me is completely fake. All the complaining about it as far as teams go and personnel from teams and GMs and the media and all that stuff, if they're not going to tell people that the league has incentivized flopping, incentivized foul baiting, voted for it, voted to protect it, voted to lower the fine for it, and allow this shit to happen, then I don't want it. Then it's all lies. Then it's not honest. It's not honest. Who flopped more than who? Who gives a shit? Why is the fine, if you get paid $52 million a year to play the game, and the fine for flopping is $2,000? Who cares? Like, of course you're going to flop all the time if you think it can give you an advantage, if the refs are going to call that, if the team is like, it's unbelievable to me that this has rotted, that this has metastasized so thoroughly around the league. It's crazy to me that in the span of a decade, in one decade from 2010 to 2020, and then now the last 6 years, it's insane to me to think that in just that short amount of time, that kind of rot can get that deep. That's crazy to me. It's just, I honestly, as much as I research this stuff, as much as I look into this, as much as I've followed this stuff over the years, as much as that's the only interesting part of the NBA left to someone like me, like at least I can watch those kinds of maneuvers and the finance maneuvers and the investment groups that they make and the structures and, who's got control of what companies and all this kind of stuff. That's all that's left as entertainment to me in the modern era. But even then, I still cannot wrap my head around how this is allowed to happen, how there's no pushback. Not a single team. Think about it. 30 teams, not a single one. It's just, Badesky asked why. Why am I still surprised by this? The reason I'm surprised by this is because I grew up in an era where we tried for excellence and we expected excellence, and all of our movies and heroes made it seem like the world was a good and not evil, shitty place. Now that I'm older, yes, I'm aware of it and I can actually study it. I can actually watch it. And, anybody who gets into economics or chooses to do anything with economics, unfortunately, that's pretty much what you're studying. That's what you're working with. That's what you're writing about. That's what you're talking about. But there's still this inner part of me that just can't believe that it's that level of shitty. Where are the good ones? Where's anyone pushing back? Like watching Steve Kerr make a fucking ass of himself for weeks. Sorry, excuse my language. But watching this kind of stuff, like, it's just, I think it's just garbage. I think it's just terrible. I don't know. It's so widespread and it goes so deep to the core and it's so incentivized that it just blows my mind. It's just, why? Because I'm upset about it. That's why. Like, I'm surprised by it because I expect more, because I hoped for more. Not that I expected more. I hoped for more. And it's just not, there. Player empowerment.
AOH said you can call in soon if you want.
Fantastic.
That'd be great.
I love this. Player empowerment, philanthropy, and social impact, business and media moguldom, sustained peak performance, social and political activism. I love this. This is my favorite comment. This is the greatest comment that we'll ever get. This is the greatest comment I'll ever get. I don't know whose channel you left it in. Oh, damn. It's in Siberius. Well, Siberius, you have the best comment ever made here. So I don't want you bounced. Absolutely not. I'm over here specifically. I'm putting you on the screen. I've put you on the screen. I've responded to 3 of your chats. I don't know where the wanted bounce thing. I actually specifically said that you were more than welcome. So, but
I also said only bounce you if you don't answer the question. But let's talk about your answer, because there's a lot to fucking unpack there.
That's 15 streams. What I encourage you to do, because you seem to be reasonable and you seem to be polite. What I really encourage you to do, what I hope that you will do, that you will allow me the opportunity. I hope that you will check out the 3 videos I've posted. I have a new channel. I hope that you will check those 3 out. I hope that you will try some of my next few videos on every single one of those topics, and then make up your own mind how you feel about that. There's a live from last year that you can go find, or that I'm going to do a whole a video recapping that sort of thing. But in terms of player empowerment, I would strongly suggest that you look into how the league is for players right now, because it's about 10 to 15 players that have been empowered, and the other 435 players have been screwed. They make less of the team cap. They have less freedom. They have less control over any part of their career. They play less years on more teams. They churn all over the place. There is absolutely the player empowerment that has happened is concentrated in the hands of 10 to 15 players. The players themselves are not empowered. Only the stars are. My argument, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you now. My argument is that player empowerment has taken what used to be shitty owners and created 10 or 15 shitty players that are shittier than what the owners used to do. Those 10 players or 15 players or so screw the other 435 infinitely worse than previous era's owners ever did. That's my argument. I hope you will hear it out. I hope you will come back and hear it out. If not, that's fine. I get it. But I hope that you will take a look at those things. And we're also going to talk about the philanthropy, the social impact stuff, the business and media moguldom. I think that's bad. I don't think active players should be able to have a media moguldom in the sport that they're currently playing in. I hope you'll check out actually my most recent video where we found out that Spring Hill and Clutch Sports and Rich Paul created the Scottie Pippen ad of Scottie Pippen trashing Michael Jordan for Coca-Cola. I hope that you will check that out and see how that happened. I don't think that's good for a sport to have players capable of financing those kinds of things or creating that sort of access journalism environment. I think that kind of stuff leads to media manipulation and fan manipulation at the expense of the players in the league. It lowers their brand value and creates problems, I think, when going to sign contracts. I don't think that's good. Sustained peak performance. I highly encourage you to go check out Angry Old Hoops, who's in the chat right now. Please go check out his channel. He can show the sustained peak performance debates far better than I can. He brings all the receipts, all the footage. Go check it out. And as far as social and political activism comes out, I encourage you to read a book. I think it's called Life in the Bubble, I think is the name of it, that goes through all the social activism and sort of how that worked and who the leaders were and how that went down. Or stick around and, I'm going to be making a video of that sometime in the next few weeks. But so I hope so. I'm trying to, I really do. I want to make an effort to be polite to everybody, and I appreciate you for being polite. But I just wanted to hit each and every one of those topics for what can be expected, because you unknowingly actually gave a great summary of what my channel is about. So that's just the perfect setup to introduce my channel to anybody who may not be familiar with it or is curious about what is coming next. So I do appreciate that. But I do respect, I respect your freedom to believe whatever you want to believe about it. Player empowerment equals James Harden. Yeah, he's a huge beneficiary of this. He's been a huge beneficiary of this. He's been able to manipulate a lot of things with that. Not the least of which is the flopping that we're going to talk about. That my video is going to be about tomorrow. I think
despite that empowerment, he has done nothing for his teams.
No, it's actually made him worse.
Of any kind. LeBron can't be ranked. He's unrankable because in order to be ranked, you have to be able to be measured against other all-time greats. So if you can find another all-time great that has flopped or team hopped or colluded or all of those other things, which no other all-time great has done, he cannot be measured against them.
Fair. As far as ranked, I suppose it depends on what the ranking is. I incorporate influence on the game of basketball. I incorporate what he's done for the league, what he's done for the game, how he's changed the models of how he's influenced the sort of business models of players and how they approach this stuff. And so kind of for that reason, you're not going to like my answer. I know it, but for for that reason, regardless of any play on the court, I would rank him, I don't know, maybe 10th or 20th from the bottom. And then if we incorporate his play on the court along with what the media, sort of these talking heads and the announcers tell me is happening compared to what I see with my own eyes, I mean, it's got to be close to the bottom. But that's, like I said, I don't know if anybody expected me to have a different opinion. I am sorry to disappoint, but that's absolutely where I stand on that. In terms of raw talent, though, and this is what's the tragedy of it to me, in terms of talent, basketball talent, athletic talent, his ability to play basketball. I remember when he came into the league. I remember his rookie year. I remember the first several years. I would argue that this is possibly one of the greatest examples of wasted talent that I've ever seen. I think if he had tried for that, I think if he had respected his teammates, respected the game, I think if he had focused on his basketball play, I think if he hadn't had gotten all into, the chosen one tattooed on his back and a media empire, I think if he had not made those moves and just focused on basketball itself, I think he has the athleticism to have been a great. But, unfortunately, that's not the timeline that we're in. He chose that path instead, and to make excuses for weak parts of his game that then never improved. And then the flopping started then right around the time of the decision. Then he was fined for it. AOH and I were joking about it a little bit. This business of that he didn't start flopping, that flopping was introduced to him by Luka and was introduced to the league by Luka. Everybody seems to have forgotten that they put in that penalty in 2012. And in 2013, LeBron was one of the few players that actually received a fine after an initial warning in the Eastern Conference Finals, no less. So, I mean, Luka, I don't even know if he could I don't know how good he even was at speaking English at that time. There were compilations of flopping featuring LeBron James way earlier than 2016.
Absolutely.
So in my view, unfortunately, we never got to live in a timeline where that happened. This idea is so LeBron isn't great. I don't think he showed it. I don't think he achieved it, and I think he specifically chose not to achieve it. I think he went and focused on other things. I think to him it's just basketball, and the real game is about what kind of business you can build, how you can use basketball, and how much you can extract from the game in order to enrich yourself. I think that's what it is. I think that's what happened. That's my view on it. I think that starts at the decision, and I think I can prove that idea came in about 2006, and then escalated from there from 2006 to 2008, and then 2010 when the decision happens. That's the track it went. That's the timeline. Unfortunately, that's what I think real events show. I think the Heat clearing cap space a year, almost 2 years in advance of the decision, and yet somehow that was a decision made in 2010 that just magically had the cap space for that number. And Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley have both said in separate interviews multiple times that they sent Dwayne Wade to go talk to LeBron James about joining up with them and about forming that super team in 2008. Again, a year and a half before the supposed decision was made. And the agency that he was with came in with that idea in 2006 into basketball as a Hollywood celebrity agency and structured their contracts to all end at the same time in 2009 so they can put them on a team together. All of those kinds of things, to me, that is manipulation. That is, I think, a disease. I think that is a structural rot that was allowed to happen. David Stern complained about it himself. So the idea that there was ever any focus on becoming a great basketball player, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think that's what he chose to focus on. Maybe he could have been great. Unfortunately, the world will never get to know because that's not what he pursued. Anyway,
absolutely.
That is my thesis. That is my perspective on it. Let that be set in stone forever. That is recorded. That's what I believe. And I hope that my videos will show some of that happening. And I'm happy to be proven wrong. As you see them, please feel free to suggest any alternative perspective on that or to correct me if any of the facts of it are incorrect. I try my best to do good research. Again, as I pointed out, Pat Riley and Dwayne Wade are on record saying they went to LeBron to make it happen in Miami, and the agency that they were with set that up as a strategy to put them all. The reason why it was a great free agency year is because that agency structured all their contracts to end at the same time so they could put them on the same team.
Yeah.
The other teams didn't get the big free agents that year. Miami got the agents, and they're on record having planned for it in 2008. But they want to sell me this story. They tried to sell me the story in 2009, and they want to sell me the story still to this day that was decided after the 2009 season.
Right.
And yet all of the moves were made, and they have retroactively stated on the record that that is not the case. So I don't buy any arguments that it was the case. I think that Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley know what they themselves did more than anybody else on earth. And so if they say that's what they did, I'll take them at their word. That's what they did. But that's what I think. That's mine.
So
that's my
I absolutely applaud you for the way that you handled that and for being so polite and eloquent. But I have blocked them because they just keep bringing up nonsense that I don't care about. So let's move on.
Sounds good. What up? Looked like I missed the fanboy comments on live stream. You did. They were actually very respectful. I think they were incorrect, but I hope that I will be given the opportunity to show the receipts. But it was otherwise very respectful, which is more than I can say that for most fanboys.
I agree.
Or fan gals.
I agree. I mean, they have some delusions that they're standing steadfast by, and that's okay.
Well,
like people can, like I said, people can think whatever they want. But yeah, we spent enough time on it, so
I agree. I like this comment. Two comments here. Javo says, we're not saying he's not great. We're saying he's not the GOAT and how he played his career. He doesn't belong to be in a room with real championships that didn't join their draft class for rings. I agree, except for I'm also saying that he's not great. I'm saying there's an alternate timeline where if he had focused on that, he potentially could have been great, but he didn't do that, and he never achieved that, and so he's not great. That's what I think. I think he's the opposite of that, but that's my view.
I'm actually so glad that this came up. I'm glad that this fan person came into the chat and we ended up having this conversation, because the video that I'm making tomorrow is addressing why the fuck do people keep calling LeBron great. Channels that I watch and respect even say that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? In all of the research that I've done and all of the games that I've gone back and watched, I've never seen it. People love to say, oh, he's a great basketball player. When the fuck did that happen? Because I keep looking back. I watched games in 2006. I watched games in 2012.
Yep. I don't
Maybe we just have a different definition of greatness, but people keep saying it. Sports and Fitness Rant said it, and I'm like, what?
I don't understand. Great has lost all meaning, is what I think. I think that's what's happening. So, I think great has lost all meaning.
Yeah, that's what my video is about tomorrow. Why do people keep saying this? And I don't want to get on that. I will address all of that in my video tomorrow. But I just keep hearing it, and I don't like it.
I just couldn't disagree more. but like I said, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I hope that you will try to see how deep the structural rot is and how manufactured this shit is.
Yep.
And no matter where I look, that man and that empire is just always at the heart of it. It's always at the root of it. And so for that, I cannot separate that. I cannot separate that in my mind. I cannot separate, I can jump high, but I ruined the thing that millions of people loved. And now 63% of people don't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot separate those two things. Like, if that's what you did to the thing, I don't care how high you can jump. I would have much rather that you went and played football.
Yeah.
But, again, that's my channel. That's my perspective. That's where I'm at.
Right.
Everybody's entitled to have their own opinion, but all I ask for is that you be respectful in the chat. That's all I care.
And I will do my best to be respectful.
I love this.
I'm not great at it.
Sorry.
but I will do my best for you.
I appreciate it.
On our lives, I will always be respectful.
On I want to get on this comment. JW, I love this. Vlade Divac claims to have introduced flopping. I don't know if that's true. I mean, it's true that he claimed it, but I don't know if he really can take credit for that or not. But I would probably peg it as a good start date. That being said, I have off the court reasons for I still love Vlade Divac, even though he absolutely flopped all over the place, and that's despicable behavior, and it should not be rewarded in any way.
Yep.
That's still terrible. But him as a person, I actually got. I used to think he was kind of neat back in the day. I thought he was cool and stuff. But I just sort of shout out to Vlade. I think I mentioned it earlier. I had the blessing to. I married a Serbian woman, and obviously spent a lot of time with her family and stuff. And they have clued me into a whole other side of Vlade Divac that I didn't know existed. But watching and learning about what he was doing with the Yugoslavian team back in the day, and then with a lot of those guys sort of following the civil war there, his ability to keep those people focused on basketball and not on the literal civil war happening and brewing around him is just unbelievable.
It is.
In terms of leadership, in terms of the respect that he commanded from his teammates and fellow countrymen at the time. Like, that is unbelievable. Anybody who doesn't, everybody should go read a little bit about that. Like, that's incredible. That's just truly, it speaks so highly of him, I think.
It does.
As a leader and as a human being. But that's something I didn't know until, I was blessed to meet people who showed me that. But it's truly something.
It really is. I completely agree.
In the Olympics too, keeping that together that's incredible. That's really incredible. Someone should write a book about those years of Vlade Divac over there. Like, that's amazing stuff, what he was able to do. But yeah, on the court and then with the Lakers and stuff, get your ass off the ground, you fucking flopping pieces. Like, what are you doing? Get up, stay on your feet. Come on now.
Actually, real quick, I have to, and I told you about this, PMR, but I have to tell the chat. A shout out to Vlade Divac. He was recently on Jay Moore's podcast, More Stories. So shout out to More Stories. It's an absolutely fantastic podcast with some great guests. But Vlade Divac was on there recently. It's a great episode, and he really talks about some great things. So you guys should absolutely go and check it out. But yeah, like PMR was talking about, with him keeping his teammates focused on what was going on in the midst of a literal war is fucking insane.
It's crazy. I had no idea.
I don't know how that's possible.
It's really wild. But yeah, I don't know. If anyone wants to go look into that, maybe at some point I'll make a video about it. Actually, I think probably just for my mother-in-law, I should make a video of that.
You should. No, it's absolutely incredible and deserves more recognition than it gets.
Oh, Dejan, was that Bodiroja? Ooh, I will. Actually, you know what? I'm going to write that down. I will ask her about that. I will ask their family about all that.
You should highlight that comment. I can't see it.
Oh, sorry. And I would love to actually, I'm going to go look up some footage, see who this is. But it's amazing. The more I get into it, the more I'm enjoying it. It's awesome. So shout out. Thank you, Mr. Tiago. Asked them about a Serbian player called Dejan Bodiroja. He used to play in Barcelona. Best player I saw in Europe that never played in the NBA. He was the Basketball World Cup MVP back in 2002. I would love to go check that out. I'm definitely going to look up some footage about that and see.
Nice. As will I.
See about that. Hopefully they didn't burn Belgrade to the ground.
Yeah, I always appreciate when people make suggestions for me to check things out, or channels I should check out, or moments I should check out in basketball history. I'm all for it. So please always feel free to do that, and I will check them out.
And so now for the less respectful version, please welcome AOH to the stage. What's going on, AOH?
That's appropriate.
Oh, what's on your mind, sir?
Good show. Good show so far. Lots of talking points you guys are bringing up. But
It was originally going to be 4.
Well, yeah, just your casual side conversations are bringing up additional ones. I think pretty. Anyway, it's a good show. Is the point? And you were talking about the cracking down on the flopping or making excuses for flopping, something to that extent. And this morning, I was thinking how it seems to me like, well, you guys brought up Luca, and I was like, isn't it interesting how the traits of LeBron James that have been ignored for so long, they're suddenly willing to crack down on them when it's someone else, or become aware of them when it's someone else. And that means that they know that all along and have intentionally allowed one person only to get away with it. Now, what's an additional layer to this? It's when LeBron James can benefit directly. For example, don't look at LeBron and his current failure in these playoffs. Think about Luca. Think about the guy on the bench, not the guy who's on the floor, which is insane. Also, think about SGA's flopping. Like last year when SGA was in the playoffs, I don't remember him getting this kind of criticism. But now that he's going up against LeBron, hey, don't look at LeBron, look at SGA and the bad things about SGA. And I'm not here to defend foul baiting or flopping, which I'm going to have to say that so far, I don't think I've seen that much from SGA. I was expecting to see more.
So
in any case, whether he foul baits or doesn't, all of a sudden, when there's an opportunity to take negative focus off of LeBron James, they're ready to talk about negative aspects that other players have engaged in.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it. How many times have we seen this pattern? Sorry, I'm going to, Siberius, if you want to go first, feel free.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm about to freak out.
Do it.
Do it.
So what bothers me is the pattern. That's what I mean, beyond the behavior, it's the pattern of it is what bothers me. Is that you do something and then other people start to do it too. And then nobody wants to say anything about it. And then the small group starts to complain about it. Once that reaches sort of heights, then he switches to something else and his entire camp then goes crazy, blaming everybody else for doing it. And then putting out statements like, in my day, we never used to do that. Like, what are you talking about? All the footage exists. Like, yeah, yes, it was. What do you like? And it's just every time. It was the same thing with load management. It was the same thing with Iron Man. It was the same. Like, it's just been constantly. That's been the thing. And it always comes up. And you notice like the GOAT debate, all those kinds of things, comments about Michael Jordan or past eras, all that stuff just miraculously only shows up when the play on the court is bad. When the play on the court is good, that's all you hear about. When the play on the court is bad, let's talk about plumbers and firemen. Like how it's the most inorganic, artificial, manufactured bullshit I have ever seen. Pardon my language, but it's just nonsense to me. It's so manufactured. It's so well timed. And the idea that like, that's just the media doing that, whatever. Like when you control a media company and you control access to all the major networks, that's your media. Like that's clearly your media strategy. You can't claim ignorance of media when you own media. That doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't fly in any other sport. It doesn't fly in any other aspect of life. But for some reason in the NBA, we're fine with it. Everybody's just cool with it. We're all just going to pretend that this is somehow a real thing. But I think I commented on your video. I saw your response, but when you're talking about Wilbon, talking about, Luca brought this in and stuff.
Crazy.
I mean, the fine was put in 2012. I said it earlier in this live, but the fine was like, the man was fined for it 3 years before Luca came. It had already become so bad that they put a fine. It was a stupid fine. The fine was meaningless. It was $5,000 at the time.
Well,
it had no teeth whatsoever, and that's by design, which, my video tomorrow will go into the structure of that and how it's completely bullshit. It's a complete hustle. But it was there, though, and he received it in the Eastern Conference Finals, no less, and his teammate got it in the finals. But sure, no, yeah, Luka introduced it in 2016, and now it's a problem. Like, what? How is that now? And how is it 2016? Like,
Do you mind if I hijack your turn? Because I've got a follow-up.
Siberius, that's to you. I had my turn.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. So, because you keep alluding to, the blame shifting, and it's another piece that I was ranting about this morning, and that's blame shifting everything over to Adam Silver or to the NBA or whoever. And, it ends up being a distraction. People, instead of focusing on what someone's doing wrong, people start talking about, oh, well, the NBA caused it, or Adam Silver is allowing it, so this is why, or society caused it, or whatever you want to do. Bottom line is, if you're continuing to allow it on TV, let's say that society is responsible. Okay, well, you nationally televising grown men who are celebrated behaving in a bad way isn't stopping it. It isn't slowing it down. It's not setting an example for, hey, here's how you should behave. If you don't like where society is or where society is going, let us show you some men behaving like men. No, the NBA saying, hey, here are people acting like complete garbage, and we're going to glorify them. So it doesn't matter who did it first. I mean, it matters a little bit because I think LeBron James is definitely guilty. But if the only thing you can do is try to push accountability elsewhere, then it tells me you're not really interested in things improving. You got to try. And the NBA has a powerful platform. You are putting people in front of millions of eyes, and you're allowing them to be shitty. That's not helping. That's not going to stop society from being shittier.
Yeah, I would argue it makes it worse. Obviously, it makes it significantly worse. You're promoting it, you're rewarding it, and it becomes a model. It becomes a model that that other people then start to follow. And the really disturbing thing, and I think probably SNF can speak more on this than any of us can, I think. But I heard I was in a stream the other day. I think it was 93Z's stream. I can't remember which game it was. But anyway, it was the other day, and shout out to 93Z, by the way. There was someone was in there, like a call-in person was talking, and they were a coach, like a youth basketball coach, I think, in Australia. And she was talking about how even over there in Australia, you got kids talking about or acting on the court like LeBron James and modeling after LeBron James and flopping and foul and doing all that and elbowing and crying to the refs and using this idea of but it's fine because I'm just I'm going to get my money, and it's not and just not playing the actual game itself. And it's just like, forget it. Like, it's not a theory that this corrupts it further, or that this corrupts basketball further, corrupts kids. It's clear evidence.
Or put it another way. How could it help?
Yeah.
How could it possibly slow it down?
Yeah, and just to make sure that that my stuff isn't getting twisted, because maybe I don't make that connection strongly enough in some of my videos, because I really just want people to see the structure, and I know most people haven't heard about those kinds of things before. But it's not that I want to blame shift that it's not LeBron James or that this doesn't involve him. It's that no matter what issue I look at, the two are connected. No matter what I look at, the league will encourage or allow or twist itself into knots to protect whatever LeBron James is doing, or LeBron James will abuse the crap out of whatever the league does in order to get money at the expense of the game of basketball. Like, the two are inseparable in my mind. So that's why the ones that get me the angriest are the stuff of he's earned it, or that he deserves, a free pass on whatever it is because of what he's done for the game. that single sentence made me like, that's what made me interested in even thinking about putting up a YouTube channel. It's just like what he's done. Let me make one video at a time what he's done for this game.
Yeah, and I would dare say the person who says that ridiculous sentence the most in the main broadcasts is Stephen A. Smith.
Oh,
I hear him say that dumb shit all the time. Like, what has he done for the game? What has he done for the game? And he's about to criticize, or at least slightly criticize, something bad that LeBron has done. And every single one of those is introduced with, well, let's first tell you, he's been an amazing ambassador for the game. And then he goes on to tell us something worth criticizing. Like, what if you gave us a specific example of a good thing during some of these glittering generalities about the what he's done for the game? And he's, as you were alluding to, I think, Pineapple, it's all been about what can be done for him and what he's done for himself and what the game has done for him. And once he's sucked the NBA dry, just like he sucked every franchise that he's gone to dry, he's gonna go and take that and go and do something that's gonna hurt the NBA even further, such as a competitor league.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think 100%. And for anyone who doesn't know what AOH is alluding to there, talking about LeBron James, Maverick Carter, and Rich Paul have gotten in. Actually, specifically Maverick Carter and Jokic's agent, Jokic's European agent, who is the major agency for most of the big European, like the biggest European stars in Europe. They don't handle negotiations here. But anyway, they've all gotten together as consult. Oh my God, it's Mishto. And I do not want to attempt his last name again.
I just wanted to make a point that at least he's still only known as Jokic's agent, whereas we know LeBron's agent by name.
Yeah, it's Mishto. He has the last name. I just
we shouldn't know any of these people.
No, we shouldn't, and we used to not.
Yeah. But anyway, they've all gotten together. I couldn't
tell you who the fuck Jordan's agent was, but now I can.
Wait, real fast, just so everybody is on the same page. They've all been brought in together as consultants and or partners with Saudi Arabia, who's trying to build a competing league to the NBA and to NBA Europe. They want to travel like kind of F1 sort of style league, and they want to bring, by allowing players to take part ownership, they're looking to poach talent from the NBA and from the Euro League and FIBA and future NBA Europe to create a competitor league of their own.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so two things that I have to address. One is with that fanboy, fangirl, fan person that was in the comments. They said LeBron elevated the game. I can't remember the exact word that they used.
Transcended the game.
Transcended the game.
It's another Stephen A. Smith quote that doesn't mean anything and has no evidence. You're just repeating people.
But this is what I thought was funny. When we asked them for definitive information, all the shit that they brought up, none of it had anything to do with fucking basketball.
Right.
How did he transcend the game when the 5 things that you mentioned had nothing to do with what's happening on the court being played?
Well, I'm going to give the extreme cynical opposite take of that. I think he did transcend basketball. I think his shittiness went from the court to the entire league to the planet. I think.
Well, yes. I mean, if we're talking about transcending society, also, yes.
Okay, so what were one of these? What was building a school something that they said, or having a foundation?
It was literally,
we're shoehorning that in.
It was the greatest introduction and greatest summary of my entire channel that I'll ever get. Ever.
First of all, he didn't introduce these sorts of things. He didn't introduce charities. He didn't introduce philanthropies. And he's not the first professional athlete to do it. And his foundation, by the way, is a means for him to get more donations and have tax write-offs. It's not coming out of his pocket, people.
No.
Well, it also is the lowest performing school for problem kids and stuff like that.
I mean, that should matter, right? You don't just say, hey, I made a school and it's made everybody worse, and leave the second part out. It's like, your school should do something good.
I would think so. I would think if that's going to be a criteria of greatness, then it itself has to be great. It can't be that I did exactly that, that I made it worse for poor kids. Like, surely that can't be a thing, right?
Well,
Like,
right.
I don't know.
And also, the other thing that I wanted to point out then, but I just didn't even want to get into it, some of the most horrible people who have ever been on this planet were the biggest philanthropists ever.
Mm. Yep.
Because it benefits them. If you are a billionaire, it is advantageous to you to be a philanthropist because it gets you tax breaks. You're not doing it for the good. I mean, maybe some people do it for the good, but you'd be a fool if you didn't do it. It would be costing you money to not donate money.
I think they've made it so favorable to be a billionaire now that they're not even doing that anymore. I don't even think they're being philanthropists anymore. They don't even have to. It's just
they get so many tax breaks with everything that I think you're probably right.
like Bezos doesn't give. Like, he's famous, so he doesn't give.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And then you go look back, by the way, just to point out, you go look back and you see a lot of guys, huge names, doing a bunch of charity work quietly, just quietly helping out, whatever causes they care about, and not making a huge deal about it, not building a statue of themselves at the thing that they build. Like, imagine. But,
who would do that?
Who would possibly do that? Who would ever do such a thing? It's crazy. It's just, it's wild to me. And then you look at guys who actually do a lot of stuff, even in the modern stuff, and they get trashed. Nobody, has anybody ever talked about like Kyrie Irving doing a whole bunch of charity stuff and actually sort of putting his money where his mouth is, putting his, even his career on the line, or talking about the Bucks, walking out during the bubble chip, during the playoffs there. Does anybody give those players like that as an argument for why they too are also great or greater than they might? No, they shit on all those guys all the same. They're garbage teammates carried by LeBron James, absolutely garbage. Like, oh no, but they should be. If philanthropy is one of the criteria for being good, if philanthropy makes you better, surely then there would be some points, or you would know, or you would care at all about what philanthropy everybody else has done. But it's not. It's just, it's finding something to say to try to justify a preformed, pre-issued opinion is how I read that.
I even think there's a program in the NBA that requires players to give a certain amount of time to the community. Like, they're actually.
Most leagues have that. Actually, the football has a hometown huddle that does that too.
And so sometimes that can be manipulated into having a camp in their name, which it's like, oh, I'm giving to the community and I'm charging people.
You just want me to talk about that camp.
I should shut up because there's so many directions to go with this show. I'm going to blow my load. I'm not going to have the energy to edit the video I was going to work on today. I've already told everybody, everyone what I'm planning on.
Well, while we have you here, and chat is fairly lively here, I do want to take the opportunity to announce something that the three of us have worked out and planned for all of you guys. There'll be more about it. We'll all be posting about it in the coming days. But Thursday night, mark the calendar. And so starting this Thursday,
May 14th.
Thursday, May 14th. Starting this Thursday, we have devised a system. We have created a thing to be able to have watch parties of classic games with all of you guys and whoever else wants to join. But I'm going to
you see how humble he is as an old schooler. We didn't do it. He did it. But thank you.
Well, y'all are going to join me.
I'm absolutely just going to highlight that fact that this is your fucking idea. I had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. Well, you know what? I tried, I guess. I don't know.
Toot your own horn at this moment.
Well, this
right
is how
now,
you do it. This is how you do it. You don't toot it and someone else will toot it for you. But in order for someone to toot it for you, you have to first not have already tooted it, which is what he just demonstrated.
I've never
Oh
thought
my
about
God, I'm a cranky old man. Unless that was a
actually-
good point. Was it a good point, or was mine just a cranky old man?
That's actually true, I guess. No, I think that's a good point.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's funny after you said something similar about that, about how, what was it you said? Something about how humility was like an old person's trait.
Yeah, kind of.
And I was thinking about, I actually
Oh.
was thinking about that. I was talking with my wife about it. I was like, you know what? I think that is actually kind of true. You don't hear that in a lot of media now. You don't hear that stuff, which I think is, yeah, I think you actually have a good point. But
So
anyway.
really break it down for the people. Like let's really spell it out exactly what it is, what's going to be happening, and
So-
like how it's going to work.
So here's what's going to happen for everyone to see this. So the issue with streaming those old games is, number one, if you actually stream the old game, you're going to get copyright claimed immediately, and it could hurt. I think it could hurt monetization or the ability to monetize later. And if you already are monetized, I think it could actually do real damage and get you demonetized these days. But it occurred to me that people enjoy watching, and we have watched a couple of live modern games using the game casts that you find on ESPN and NBC. That stuff seems to be fine. So the issue is we need one of those. So I set to work for a couple weeks, and I'm gonna put it on the stage now. We
Nice. Good. They'll be able to see it.
We have built this somewhere.
Again with the Wii.
Okay, I have built this. So we have created an app to watch and gamecast classic games that we can all sync up and watch together. Bring that down on the bottom there. So all of this stuff, we can put in all the info for old games. We can put in everything. We can put in who was starting. Actually, I'll show you guys right now. So you got here but I have them backwards because that was weird. Sorry, let me fix that. And get Horace Grant off of here.
It's
Okay,
also
there
just
we go.
going to take a second for it to show up on the actual
Oh, sure.
stream where the audience can see it.
There you go. All right. Well, that'll update here in a second. But yeah. So you can see we'll have who was starting. Oh, but now it's all messed up. Well, whatever. We'll have the Bull starters. We'll have the Magic starters. We'll have all that stuff. We'll have points leaders. All the information that you could possibly want with this.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I am almost to my destination, so I have to say goodbye.
Cool.
I can't believe we're not going live for LeBron's sweep tonight, but I get it. I don't think I have the energy for it. But hey, I'm excited for Thursday. Thanks for letting me call in, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for joining. Good to see you. But yeah, so we'll be able to put all the info during the game that will scroll by sort of automatically, or that I'll have to push it. But we'll have, what the context of the games, who was the season leaders, who were the series leaders, who were the starters, recent trades, recent injuries, sort of the context of the games. Obviously, you see there the games is records. Who was doing well and stuff. Old logos. We'll have all of that stuff. The score will update. And then there's, more importantly, down here, this thing is the important part. So we'll be pinning what broadcast we're watching of the old games. So you can put that on any screen you want, watch it however you like, and then all you got to do is sync to our clock. Our clock will run simultaneously along with the game so that everybody can actually be synced, which interestingly is actually easier and better to do than even when we try to watch live stuff.
Absolutely.
Everybody's streams always end up somehow not synced or desynced. Some people are like a whole possession ahead. So with this, everybody can be synced up together. So that's what we got going on. That's what we got planned for you guys. So you guys who are here will know about the first one. But so we can do any game you guys want. We are thinking to start. We're going to start with this game, actually. The Bulls at the Magic, 96, Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It's a legendary game. Is, I think, it's a great game to contrast with what's on the networks today. Little thing about it, even though the Magic were down 3-0, they played their hearts out, and they were even interviewed about it before the game, where they specifically talked about how it was almost impossible for them to ever hope to come back and win. But they felt it was a point of pride, that game was about respect, that game was about pride, that Shaq couldn't live with himself all summer if they got swept, that he wanted to put at least one on the board and say that they took one from the Bulls. And everybody was so locked in and so focused, even though they knew they had no hopes of winning the series. There was no sitting out. There was no load management. There was none of that. So there's a bunch of stuff to talk about with those old games. But we'll be back. I went to one of these games, so that's why I chose that one. And we'll do some of the old Sonics games for Siberius. He's a big Sonics fan in those days. We can go back to any era anybody wants. So if you guys want to put in any games that you guys are particularly fond of that you'd like to see again, or series or players that you'd like to learn more about, we'll go back to the Duncan days and Kobe Bryant, and some of the All-Star games, some of the finals, Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, all that kind of stuff.
That's really the beauty of this formatting, is we can do any game that we want to do. And because of the syncing, we don't have to worry about being copyrighted for it. We can just enjoy great basketball together. And as PMR and I have discussed offline, there's just so much emotion involved. There's so much passion involved for the game back then that we just want to experience with you guys. We want to have your insights, your takeaways, your understanding. And like he said, if you have specific games that you want to do that you want us to do and be a part of, absolutely feel free to put those suggestions out there. It may take us a while to get to them, because we kind of have our plan laid out of some games that we want to do, but we will try to get to them so we can, share that experience together. Cause that's really what this is all about, is we want to experience great basketball with actual fans. That's what we're going for.
That's the goal. And it'll also be interesting to see, everybody can sort of take a look and make up their own minds. We can apply the eye test to anything there. When people say that, oh, it used to be like this, or that player used to do this, or these players used to do that, or, oh, that guy used to do it all the time, or this wasn't very good, or that was better than. Let's take a look. Let's see what it says. Let's see what happens when you actually look at it.
Absolutely. Let's go to the tape.
Yep, pretty much. So I think that's going to be, I'm super excited about it. We're planning on doing it every Thursday night. And if it goes well, we'll add a second night to the week. If people are enjoying it and having a good time. So that's the current plan. That's the big announcement for us, for what we have for you guys. So hopefully you all will enjoy it. Ooh, look at that. We already honestly have here. Look, M. Hunter Stevie in. Honestly, I'd like to see some 92-93 Charles Barkley. Based on what happened with Draymond's comments, I think people really don't understand how great he was as a player at his peak. Absolutely. I would love to do that.
And we will. For sure.
We don't even have to go to the finals about it. Yeah, we don't even have to go to the finals. We can watch him versus Hakeem. We can watch him versus, there's so many.
We can watch him on the Rockets where, Draymond was saying that nobody wants to be like him. I'd rather be like Rockets Barkley than Warriors Draymond.
That's true.
John Freeman said Knicks Bulls series. We will absolutely be doing that as well, without question. Those were some battles, and yeah, we're going to have a lot of great content. I will ask to any of you that have, excuse me, that have channels or have any type of a platform, please, we need to get the word of mouth of this out. We need to get people to know that this is happening, that it's going to be a weekly thing, maybe even a twice weekly thing. So put it out on your channels, put it out on your Instagram, whatever you have, any voice that you have to get that information out there. We really want this to become a thing, and not just to highlight us. We're not the stars here. The game is the star. That's what we're trying to highlight. That's the experience that we want to create for people. It's not about us.
Agreed. And that's actually a fantastic example that was requested there. I got something for you. If you give me just 2 seconds, I'll show you how easily we're able to do this now for you. Just got to scroll down here. Copy link. And here we go. So literally while you were talking, bam, there's your Phoenix Suns. There's your Phoenix Suns. Call.
Yeah, it just takes a second to update so they can see it.
Oh, that's right.
Real quick, I just do want to address JXY Music said, Siberia, since you mentioned you technically missed out on the 2000s because you stopped watching basketball when MJ retired. One game I would recommend is Spurs versus Detroit Finals. PMR and I had discussed that specifically because there are so many of those games I did not see. I did not get to appreciate in real time. So we absolutely will be going back and watching those because I never got to see it, and I need to see it. And I certainly want to experience it in an environment where people will have that passion, where people will have that understanding. And like, I don't know about you guys, but one thing that I thoroughly enjoy is watching somebody experience something that I love for the first time. And you guys will be getting that experience. I will do, for those games specifically, I will do no research. I will know nothing. I will be going in completely blind to try to give myself that first time experience. Other games, I already probably know the outcome. You know, I've probably already seen the game in certain circumstances, even multiple times. But with those games I haven't seen, I will not be doing that. So you guys get to see my real, genuine reaction to it. And I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Agreed. But here you go. Hopefully it's updated on the screen, but there you go. Look, we're basically set up already for the Phoenix Suns. So we can.
Yep, it just popped up.
Yep, we can make this work for any teams you want, for any matchups.
Yep. And yeah, we'll just make sure all the information is updated, excuse me, on that screen. So everybody should know exactly what's going on. And most importantly is that sync clock. As long as you are synced with that sync clock, you're watching what we're watching when we're watching it.
Yep.
So we're all seeing it at the same time.
Oh, we got some requests going already. Celtics Bulls 86 playoffs.
Absolutely. Because a lot of people don't understand the obstacle that Jordan was facing. You know, all of these modern NBA apologists and all of these fanboys like to talk about, oh, well, you know, Jordan got swept. Yeah, but he also put in a Herculean effort against possibly one of the greatest teams of all time, and no one else would have been able to do that.
No.
So it's easily dismissed, you know, like LeBron not making the playoffs his first 2 seasons, not the same thing.
I like this. I think it puts M. Hunter Stevie says, I think it puts the 93 finals in its proper context because you can hear his voice anytime Barkley talks about it, just how insane that was. MVP Barkley playing his damn heart out and being beat. And he left. I don't think he left anything on that court in that series. I mean, he put it all out.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have to fucking point this out. This Miss Flanagan motherfucker, you're pushing my buttons.
Well, they're in my chat, so it's fine.
Except I have to look at their stupid ass comments.
It's all right. Let's see. Maybe some Clyde Drexler Trailblazers playoff runs. Ooh, I like that. I'm down. I'm down for some Clyde the Glide and Cliff Robinson. Absolutely. Against Magic
Absolutely.
Lakers. 63-point game against that Celtics. Same series. Yeah, these are good. These are good. I'm writing them all down right now. You can hear clicky clicky. But I am
King
thinking,
Speech Row, what's going
King
on,
Speech
man? Thanks
Row.
for joining.
Just in time, sir. How are you? King Speech. Yeah, baby Rasheed Wallace. That's right. That's right. Towards the end of that. Oh, those are some good years to go look at. So we're looking at probably 91. Let's say 91 Blazers probably is a good time to get in there before 92. I think that'd be fascinating. So King Speech, to catch you up on this thing real quick. This Thursday, I hope that you will join us. We're gonna be doing a watch party. We're gonna start doing watch parties for some of the classic games from the old games. So we're just showing off our new fancy little Gamecast system here. But our first one is going to be Bulls Magic Game 4, 96 Eastern Conference Finals. So, and we'll have everything you need. You can sync up to us. Everybody will be able to sync up to us. We'll be able to watch all of that stuff. And also, we've already cheated a little bit. I already started watching some to test the idea. Man, just the ads are absolutely hysterical. I think you could actually do a whole stream just showing those ads, like little Pepsi ads and stuff.
Oh my God, they're so good.
It's so funny to see that. Like I completely forgot that any of that existed. So it's pretty wild. So I think we should also watch Bulls and Sonics games. Well, that's ask Siberius about that. That's actually a good segue to our last topic, and then we'll wrap it up here. But yeah, Bulls, Sonics, you tell them about it.
So the first Bulls Sonics game we will be doing, I believe, was November 10th, 1990. It was the first time I got to see Jordan play live. I was at that game. I was able to find it on YouTube, went back and rewatched it. I even made a video about it. It was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, Jordan completely delivered. So that will probably be the second game that we're doing. I'm looking forward to it. I was going to say, if you guys didn't see that specific game, which maybe you did, maybe you didn't, it's a banger, and I won't spoil anything, but yeah, it was a fantastic game, and I certainly look forward to watching it with you guys.
Hell yeah. So, yeah, I've noticed I actually was in Orlando in 96. So I went to one of the games in that series. So that's why we're starting there, just for our own personal nostalgia, games that we remember actually being at that time in our lives sort of meant something. So we're starting with those two and to test the idea, see how people like it. And we may add a second night to it, and then we have some fun plans for once the conference finals get going, and especially once the NBA finals get going. We have some interesting choices.
Yes, we do.
So for that, King Speech, I might put you in a bit of a pickle, but we'll see. We'll see how the Eastern Conference goes. Hopefully, I don't end up putting you in too much of a pickle. But we'll talk about that as we get closer to it. But for now, that's what we got for you. Hope that you guys will like it. On that note, switching over to the Sonics. Last thing I wanted to hit there. Oh, Knicks Pacers, Knicks Miami, Van Gundy, ankle bite. Yeah, there we go. Ankle biting Lonzo.
Oh, there's going to be so much good stuff to get through.
Who doesn't remember Alonzo Mourning fondly? What a character.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so in Seattle news, what's her face? The owner of the Kraken has finally gotten her bid together, or mostly put together her bid, but she's finally gotten the banks behind her. She has JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs now advising and helping her structure her bid. So she will be the first bidder for bringing the Sonics back to Seattle in the Seattle expansion. So we now know, because there was a big question, if anybody doesn't know, there was a big question about, Sabir's actually brought it up. There was a big question about the taxes for that and a bunch of, financial crap about it. All the attention has been on Vegas. All the bidding stuff has been happening for the Vegas expansion, for the Vegas franchise, but very little word on Seattle, and no known bidders had actually surfaced yet. But now the same, because she is also, the Kraken owner also is hooked up there in Climate Pledge Arena. So
Yep,
most
where they will be
likely,
playing.
most likely she's a shoo-in for it. Most likely she'll be able to do it easily, and they'll be able to integrate it with their existing plans, their existing schedules and infrastructure there at Climate Pledge. So it looks like Seattle will be getting the return of the Sonics. And yeah, couldn't be more pumped for a Sonics return. I think that would just be outstanding. Now,
I'm going to be all in.
the game that they play, that would be great. But one step at a time.
I mean, that is the unfortunate part, is they'll still be playing very mediocre basketball. However, I will be enjoying it regardless. Hope so anyway. I don't want to consider it a done deal until it's a done deal. But there's just absolutely no way it can't happen. I mean, I would be so heartbroken if, it's dangled in front of me and then yanked away. Sonics are the only Seattle team that I ever even remotely liked.
Well, looks like you're getting them back. I can't imagine them yanking it away. I don't even think there's going to be really any competitive bids. Any other competitive bids would either have to have.
Oh, I don't think so.
They would have to be better connected into Climate Pledge, or have to, make a whole new sports complex in Seattle, which I don't think Seattle's going to want to do. I think.
No, that would be incredibly expensive to do also. I mean, the only reason they were able to do Climate Pledge is because they just rebuilt Key Arena. So they didn't, tear down a structure entirely and rebuild it, in a different location. They just basically refurbished Key Arena, from something awful into something amazing. I don't think there's any place that they could do it within Seattle that, wouldn't completely screw over the population and wouldn't be a huge pain in the ass for people to get to watch those games. So I can't see it not happening.
That's true. That's what I think. But I'm pumped about it. I think that's great. Vegas is still going to be the interesting one. How those bids are collapsing is a fascinating situation. Nobody believed for a second that Fenway Sports Group is not making that bid, or that LeBron James is not in it. There'll be a video about that in a little while, but that's absolutely still happening. I mean, they turned down the Celtics specifically for this opportunity. That's exactly what's happening. So they are currently competing against Magic Johnson's group. It's literally Maggie. But Magic, and they're backed by Redbird and all this stuff. There's a whole bunch of investment stuff happening there, which is cool. But so that's the latest news until we have stronger news on it on Vegas. We'll just have to put together in the video how it's going, or maybe we'll do a whole live just on that topic. But it's cool. Oh, it's this. Oh, and also when Geloso is requesting. Also, when Jordan faced all the NBA stars when he was in college, when he went 8-0 against all the NBA stars at the time. That could be really interesting. If we could set that up, that would actually be pretty cool. So we'll do UNC.
Is there footage of that available?
There's some. I think I could set it up to work with that. Also, King Speech wants to know, Siberius, did you see my community post from last year where I was wearing the Sonics Peyton jersey at Disney World and a Seattle something?
I'm sorry, what?
Siberius, or sorry, King Speech wants to know if you saw his post last year where he took a picture.
Yeah. I said I'm going to go look it up.
Yeah.
Apparently I had a stroke while typing because that's all messed up. Yeah, he also asked Washingtonians feel nothing for the Thunder, do you? Zero. Absolutely nothing. The Sonics are not the Sonics until they come back. I thought it was funny that like the Sonics championship was also transferred to the Thunder, and I'm like, but you had nothing to do with it. How's that fair? But if they do come back, we're getting that championship back as well.
It is kind of a weird thing because I kind of feel that way. When I was a kid, I used to like watching sometimes the Montreal Expos in baseball because I was a big Toronto fan. Goes Red Sox, Toronto, Orioles, and then it was the Expos back then, which was, and those years were incredible. I was playing Little League and they were unbelievable. Should have won the '94 series, but lockouts. But regardless, when the Expos became the Washington Nationals, I didn't really follow. It's a different team. It's a different franchise. It's a different everything. And so to me, it's like, oh, that's the Washington Nationals. Like I do not see them as an extension of like, oh, that's still the Expos though. Like it's their own thing. And I think OKC is kind of like that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right. Well, I don't have that's all the topics that I had. Otherwise, we can go on for 10 years just on segues and random topics.
I think that's a pretty good ending point. Hopefully Seattle Sonics coming back. I feel incredibly confident about it, but not, it's not set in stone yet. But I think everybody's looking forward to it. I think a team in Vegas and a team in Seattle will hopefully have some positive influence on the league, and hopefully good basketball will follow.
Oh my God. One more comment here. Geloso asking, can you imagine if they made Gary Payton the Sonics head coach?
Wow, that would be interesting.
That would be amazing if they actually brought in someone from the Sonics to be the coach again, like to come back to the Sonics.
So what was really cool is I went and saw an NBA exhibition game at Climate Pledge. It was Clippers 76ers, which was a little bit disappointing. But because it was like the inaugural basketball game played in Climate Pledge, there were like 10 different like Sonics, Ring of Fame players there. And they were all kind of being highlighted. And it was nice. I would love to see them continue to do that, as those games are played, and really celebrating those players for what they did, and especially in the time that they did it. But we'll see.
We will. Well, I think that's all we got. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us. This is our first sort of duo discussion live. So I'm extremely honored. I'm extremely humbled that you guys showed up. It's truly something. I honestly did not think. I thought I would be, talking to 0 people or talking to just my wife or something for like the first year. So the fact that people are interested in these topics and like to hear about this kind of stuff. Thank you so much for your chats, your comments, etc.
And that the same people keep tuning in.
That's wild to me. It's actually crazy.
Seeing the same names coming back and coming back and coming back and commenting in the videos, and it means the world to us. And I mean, when I started this channel, I didn't expect this. I never expected to do lives, period, let alone on the road to 3 lives a week. So crazy things can happen. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and there's a lot more to come. So I hope you guys are there for it. And I'm excited.
Indeed. If we want to watch some real basketball, join us Thursday night.
All right, guys.
you all.
We will catch you in the next one.
Thank you all very much. Take care.
Bye, guys.